a little wire that was loose. They were fixing it. They said they were going to be back in like 30 minutes with the new part they needed, but they weren't back yet. And they need full action.
August the 7th. Rated R. Under 17. Not admitted without parent. Amber and Ian.
One could argue the last couple years with Patrick Mahomes, not his best years in the NFL, even when he was healthy. So are we finally at a place after 20 plus years of the answer to who is the best quarterback in the NFL very easily always being Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes? Are we finally at a place where now the answer is confusing?
Amber and Ian. Weeknights at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. This is Freddie and Harry.
I can't wait to see this wide receiver group with Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and a full offseason and a full year starting out for Rashid Shaheed. So I'm going with Seattle as the second best team in the NFL right now, which is so unique about the NFC West, because you can sit up here and make a gripe that the top 10 teams in the NFL, 3 of those are in the NFC West.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry, weekdays at 5 Eastern Time on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
FX presents The Shards, Los Angeles, 1981.
We're gonna roll the school, don't we already?
It was supposed to be the best year of their lives.
I would stab someone for a drink right now.
Until their friends started going missing.
There's something going on.
From executive producer Ryan Murphy and based on the best-selling thriller by Bret Easton Ellis. Sounds terrifying. FX's The Shards premieres August 5th on FX and Hulu.
Wichita's new sports leader, ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM, KKGQ, Newton. This is the Shane Dennis Show on the new ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM.
Hello there. Welcome. Back at home at the Equity Bank Park Studio. Shane Dennis Show, Jack Johnson alongside. He's here as usual. Here on a Tuesday, it's episode 1270. Got a couple of guests for you today. We got a trade deadline to look back on, and some reaction to knee jerk. We'll do all that today, but we'd like for you to join in on the overreaction too, regardless of topic. We got a couple different avenues for you to be a part of the show. If you're new to the station, welcome. If you're new to the show, same. If you're a salty old veteran of ESPN Wichita and the Shane Dennis Show, thanks for hanging out. Either way, if you're unfamiliar with the hotline or the text line or ways to digest the show, I got you. If you want to call, got a hotline for you. We'll be on that a couple of times today talking to guests. 316-669-4996. That's the number if you want to talk, if you want to win something, for example, lottery tickets later on today. 316-669-4996. Or if you just want to ask a question, make a comment on the topic at hand and you want to talk about it, there's your avenue. There's your hotline. That's what you call. If you would rather text instead of call, but still want to weigh in those ways that I just said, questions, comments, and the like, we got a text line, dedicated text line, only for texting, 316-666-2285. And I will say this too, regarding the text line. If you win something, you'll get interaction from us. Okay, we'll reach out to you on the text line, letting you know that you won something. If you do not, then there's a chance you won't hear from us. But also, if you're provocative enough or funny or clever enough, we'll go back and forth with you on the text line. If we see them quickly enough, or if you kind of catch our attention by being creative, for example, and you really solicit a response, we'll text you. 316-666-2285. And we definitely will if you win something, because we need to let you know how to come claim your prize. And we give away stuff every single day, pretty much without fail. and we'll do so again today. Tell your smart speaker to play ESPN Wichita 92.3, KKGQ, or call letters. If you want to stream the show, espnwichita.com. Download our ESPN Wichita app. Listen through your phone. Especially if you're on vacation, for example, and you don't have a laptop, you don't have a computer device, whatever, and you don't go to espnwichita.com, rather do it on your phone and download our app. You can do it that way. In your car, 92.3 FM on your radio. Please follow us on X, Facebook, YouTube, also Instagram. We have TikTok. So you whippersnappers, check out our content on TikTok. We got that too. And the first three platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You can live stream the show. You can watch. You can see a smattering of our bobbleheads here in front of me currently. You can see our honorary SB. It's up here. You can see me. And you can, most importantly, though, see the schedule of events on the show. What time we're doing what, my Twitter handle, Jack's Twitter handle, the stations, the text line, the hotline, all that stuff, plus what we're going to talk about and in what order. So it's really a cool cherry on top. In addition to listening to us, if you like doing that, you get to watch us and you get to kind of cheat, go along, knowing what you're going to get next, or knowing what you want, knowing what you missed. That's a big one too. And if you missed something, check it out on the podcast after the fact, and you can listen to a segment, the entire show. If I'm on, or Pat and the Pulse is on at a time where you can't tear yourself away from whatever you're doing, but you like us, then the podcasts are for you too. So check us out there, and in that way. Jack, guess what I'm on now, social media wise?
Are you on TikTok?
Yep.
Wow.
I don't really know what I'm doing, and it's hard for me to without asking for help. I haven't yet, obviously. Like, try to find at the very beginning, when you first sign up, I should have just added all my contacts and been done with it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, but I thought, now I'm going to get flooded with a bunch of crap. But on TikTok, you're going to get flooded with a bunch of crap anyway, aren't you? Isn't that the point?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's going to, based on your searches and everything, it's going to start making the perfect For You page.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I look forward to it. And it was basically for, anything for the brand. ESPN Wichita's got TikTok, so now I do too. So all y'all out there, if you want to be connected to me through TikTok, I'm out there. Don't ask me what my handle is. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. All right. Jack, moment of levity. Lost my train of thought there for a second. So wrapped up in TikTok. Jack's got a moment of levity. I'll tell you what day it is, and then I'll tell you what we're going to talk about, and then off we go. Jack, make us laugh.
What do you call a cow eating grass?
I don't know.
A lawnmower.
Today is National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. National Night Out Day. And National Coast Guard Day. Born day, Louis Armstrong, trumpet player, singer, born 1901. Richard Belzer, born day, used to be a comedian before he was Detective Munch in Law and Order SVU. He was on that show for a long time. Let's see, Barack Obama is 65. And Meghan Markle, 45. There's August 4th for you. Here is what we're going to talk about today. Deadline, Major League Baseball trading deadline is come and gone. Royals basically made a little bitty ripple in their particular pond. We'll talk about that coming up here in a second. And we'll further that with our good friend Craig Brown from Into the Fountains. He's got Royals thoughts. I'll get them from him. Mainly, what does it mean for the Royals in 2027 and beyond? What did their moves or lack of say about their seriousness as an organization? Get Craig Brown's thoughts. Jack and I will have thoughts. So we'll kind of surround the Royals ahead of their game tonight. And what does their roster look like tonight by the time game time rolls around? Will we see an afternoon transaction or transactions that someone has been jettisoned or someone's? We'll have a little mini roundtable between the three of us, basically in the first 40 minutes of the show regarding the Royals and what they did and didn't do. Top Golf Twitter question has to do with chocolate chip cookies, since it's chocolate chip cookie day. That comes your way on X at ESPN Wichita. And then Jordan's Juicy Takes, 1 o'clock. We'll talk to him about Bijan Robinson's deal, Zay Flowers deal, a little NFL talk. There's some money as far as the topic of conversation with at least 3 different guys. So we'll talk to him about that. His Juicy Takes brought to you by Booth Creek Wagyu. And then at 1:25, Ask the Producer. NFL is the topic today. ATP with Jack Johnson. We'll see how many he can get of a certain top 25 of my choosing. That comes your way at 1:25. And then I'm old, Jack's young. At the end of the show, we're all back at our Equity Bank Park studio. Myself, Pat was here yesterday. I was out and about, but I'm back here today. Reminder, speaking of out and about, Friday we'll be out and about. He and I both will be. We'll be at Twin Peaks West. We'll be at Ridge and Taft location. So come spend lunch with us, and as we'll help usher in the weekend at Twin Peaks West here in Wichita. All right. It is August 4th. It is the 216th day of the year, 149 days left in 2026. Headed for a high today of 97 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Later on tonight, the road trip continues for the Wind Surge. Northwest Arkansas, the next opponent, 6:50 for the pregame each of the next 4 nights down in Northwest Arkansas between the Surge and the Naturals. You can hear that game right here on ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM. All right, more on that in just a little bit. But first, the trade deadline is come and gone for everybody in Major League Baseball. And the Royals went with a conservative approach on deadline day. They their first real and only real legit move, I thought, was, and there were a couple other peripheral moves that moved the needle a little bit, but the Lane Thomas trade, in which they got 2 minor league pitchers, I think was the big one of the, none of them were huge, but Lane Thomas, Bailey Falter. And then yesterday during the show, news came down that Chris Bubich was being moved to the Dodgers. And LA apparently thinks that there is something in Chris Bubich before the end of the year. Or that just goes to show you how loaded the Dodgers are, that maybe Chris Bubich helps out this year. Maybe not. But so what? And I'm being flippant a little bit when it comes to the Dodgers, but in a way I'm not. But anyway, they get the Royals get a big, hard-throwing right-hand reliever in exchange for Bubich. And then one that really slid under the radar, they got a recently DFA'd pitcher from the Phillies named Nolan Hoffman. So they, by my count, have 4 pitchers that they acquired, but also 2 players with expiring contracts by my count. Starling Marte and John Schreiber, who they didn't move and will just bite the bullet on. They bullpen depth is the takeaway here, considering their bullpen ranks 29th in reliever ERA and 30th in whip. And as we all know by now, not much help was on the way from AAA or AA. And Lucas Braun and Carter Holton were the two guys that we talked about a tad yesterday in the Thomas and Falter trade. And then Carlos Duran was the big, tall, hard-throwing dude that sometimes has trouble with his command, but gets a lot of swing and miss, which there's not a lot of in the Royals bullpen right now. And Bubic at the end of the year will be a free agent unless the Dodgers do something with him, which I highly doubt they do. But we'll see. And we'll see what he can do, if anything, down the stretch. So when Beck Way gets healthy, I know this putting the cart before the horse a little bit. I feel like there potentially is excitement, may not be the word for it, but at least some intrigue with the Royals bullpen if they play their cards right down the stretch and Beck Way returns at some point. And that is if this Duran guy from the Dodgers gets a chance. You mix him in with Steven Cruz, and you got a couple of guys with some upside as far as upgrading their bullpen, which started with, which seems like a long time ago, boy, Carlos Estevez, Lucas Ursig, and they also held on to John Schreiber. Now, could be and probably is, even though if you wanted to trade John Schreiber bad enough, you could have done it. But when you look at his lefty-righty splits, and I don't know how often we've bared down on this show before, probably closer to deadline, we may have once. He's really good against righties, but that 3-batter rule would really hinder him and probably did at least a little bit in him moving to a contender because of his splits against left-hand batters. 90 plate appearances, 90 times he's faced a lefty. And of 76 at-bats, he's given up 26 hits, including 5 home runs. He has walked 14 of them and struck out only 10 of them. So that's a slash line against lefties of 342, 444, 605, and lefties are OPSing 1.050. That's not good by any stretch, although the Royals have managed to, well, Schreiber has managed to negotiate that into a 3.76 ERA for 45 games this year. Not too bad considering those splits are terrible. But as Jack has pointed out, and as I kind of reiterated, if they really wanted to move Schreiber, they probably could have. But finishing out the year with guys on expiring contracts for a team that's in last place is not exactly high praise for anyone. How much this Hoffman guy that they acquired, who was DFA'd from Philadelphia, will pitch remains to be seen. He doesn't have elite stuff, but has a lot of pitches. Kind of a John Schreiber on steroids. And by all accounts, well, not by all accounts, by most accounts, and by my account, Royals really didn't do much at the deadline. That was a boring deadline. And not that they're in it for our amusement, but it seems like the deadline almost always in the last 8 or 10 years comes and goes without the Royals really, really moving the needle. And I know you need to get some assets back. I know that if you trade Waka and Lugo, the Royals at the and the brass wanted big league guys in exchange. Who knows what was really floated out there to them that they shut down? JJ shut down. He claims that 75% of the roster was inquired about. Now, I don't know if that's going to qualify as organizational malpractice or not, or if it's a CYA situation that you think that Waka and Lugo are a part of this starting rotation next year because they were scared to death about Reagans and Piccolo or Bubic before they traded him. But the Royals held on to expiring assets and they're 21 games under 500. What are they scared of? What are they afraid of? And I told this to Jack yesterday off the air. Actually, I said it on the air. Yesterday was a perfect example, perfect timing for you to trim the fat, lop the heads off of whomever you see as not a part of this organization in 2027. And I think it's pretty clear that Matt Strom's not going to be a part of this team next year. Not that they could have traded him and refused to. That's not what I'm saying. But, if they could have moved Daniel Lynch, not much has been made of him. Conversation wise, anyway. He has a 2 ERA, but his expected ERA is 3.38. Like, is he going to regress? Will he regress to the mean? He doesn't strike out a lot of people. And let's face it, they're 21 under 500. So if they trade Daniel Lynch and whoever they bring in to throw in high leverage situations in the 8th inning for the next 50 games and they lose, who cares? What are we losing here? So what? You need to retool this pitching staff, period. Now, maybe Daniel Lynch is seen as a linchpin, and he clearly is, because I don't know if JJ ever brought him up or responded to any question because it was assumed that Daniel Lynch wasn't on the block. But guys like him and guys like Schreiber, that they're pretty much interchangeable. We talk about this all the time when it comes to bullpen pieces. If you can get something for them, go ahead. 1 year of this absolutely does not mean next year is going to be like this too, good or bad. And Alex Lang is starting to come back down to earth, crash back down to earth, along with Strom, Ursig. There are plenty of guys that don't fit into the Royals' plans in 2027 that are still on the team. But also, you've got JJ Piccolo making just little moves here and there because they think, really, or want us to think, that this year was just unlucky and they were injury riddled. So let's have Michael Waka back and Seth Lugo back to anchor our rotation in 2027, and we'll make a vast difference between this year and next, and we won't have to worry about being 21 games under 500. Even if that's true, they have a lot of work to do to bolster their team, their organization, their big league club. And when it comes right down to it, you're not, according to JJ Piccolo, this isn't a teardown. Those are his words. This wasn't a teardown for us. Well, when is it? And what's that going to take? I mean, how many games under 500 do you have to be to make it a teardown? It was a quiet day yesterday. And unless something happens between now and what, Jack, 4 or 5 o'clock tonight, when lineup comes out, and if you're going to make any moves and announce this person's been DFA'd or sent down, like if nothing happens tonight, I guess in some ways I won't be surprised, because status quo is kind of the way things go around Kansas City, regardless of record. And it's been a long time since, long time, but since they were 21 under 500 in August, and yet didn't basically just not tear it down, but get rid of everybody that's not going to be part of this team anymore. And if you didn't trade them, then get rid of them, period. But I have a feeling that's not going to happen. When we come back, we'll talk to our good friend Craig Brown from Into the Fountains. We'll get his thoughts on all those things, what 2027 looks like for him. Why'd they hang on to Schreiber? What about Lugo and Waka? Is it a cover your ass move to keep them? And by that, I mean just to keep their jobs, their job security factor when it comes to the trade deadline. And will there be any moves prior to the game tonight? Into the Fountains, Craig Brown. When we come back, it's 12:24.
You're listening to the Shane Dennis Show on ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM.
Beat the heat and win cool prizes at Crosswinds Casino. On Thursdays in August, we're drawing winners every 30 minutes from 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. to score $250 in wins play. Then at 10 p.m., one very lucky player wins $500 in wins play. And winners with the new Clubs Wins app get an extra $25 in wins play. Swipe your Clubs Wins card Sundays, August 2nd through 23rd for a 5 times entry accelerator. Beat the heat only at Crosswinds Casino. So close, so fun.
What do people with blindness or low vision need to live to the fullest? Just ask them. It's skill development, scientific breakthroughs, knowledge-based jobs, and the same opportunities as everyone else. When you give to Envision, whether it be your time, donations, or your engagement, you make it all possible. That's because at Envision, they don't focus on the disability. They value the ability. They choose not to envision a world without sight, but to envision a world where people who are blind or visually impaired are empowered to reach their full potential. Learn more at envisionus.com.
Hi, this is Brian Davis with Davis Liquor Outlet. And this is Blake Davis with a deal on Bud Light 12-pack 16-ounce, just $13.99. And for you wine lovers, 90-plus wines, 750 ml, only $9.99. Davis Liquor Outlet, each store independently owned and operated. Neighborhood locations with superstore prices.
KDOT reminds you, as your speedometer creeps up, so does your risk of crashing. Don't try to save time speeding. Save a heartbreak by driving safely and making it there in one piece.
Adopt a School is collecting school supplies now through August 31st. Help us support local teachers and classrooms. We are looking for backpacks, Clorox wipes, Kleenex, dry erase markers, glue sticks, binders, and more. Visit adoptaschool.com for a full list. Every donation, big or small, helps students start the school year with the tools they need to learn and succeed.
Great.
Your donations make a difference for everyone in our community. Items can be dropped off at Rusty Eck Ford or Midwest Kia. Thank you for helping us make a positive impact this school year.
That right there will take you back. Paul Reynolds' born day. He's from Flock of Seagulls. It is 12:27 here on a Tuesday in the aftermath of the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We go to the hotline right now and talk a little more Royals about what they did and didn't do with Into the Fountains Craig Brown, our good friend and Royals insider, talking Royals baseball. And the email that I got here in my inbox is titled Deadline Dud. And I think if you're any kind of a Royals fan or follower, besides the fact that they moved Chris Bubich, that was kind of eyebrow raising, if not totally surprising. But the return that they got was 4 minor league relievers. They also didn't move John Schreiber. They didn't move Starling Marte. So some expiring contracts are still on the team. let me ask you this, Craig, in this way. First of all, I think we, as media members following the Royals or fans following the Royals, want to be excited the trade deadline. So there's some undue pressure on the front office of whatever team it is you're rooting for, that you want to be excited by them with big names and splashy trades. And not all the time does that happen, obviously. But the Royals are in a unique situation this year in that they are out of it by a lot and needed a lot of help. So can any Royals fan legitimately take solace in the fact that, well, you've never heard of these guys, but maybe some help is on the way? Is that true or still not?
Well, first, thanks for having me on, Shane.
You're welcome.
To talk about all this. I'm not excited. I mean, it was, again, the headline was deadline dud today for the newsletter with a reason. I mean, the Royals, and it seems like they've been in this position the last couple of trade deadlines where they were, quote unquote sellers. They don't have a lot to sell. And when you don't have a lot to sell, you're not going to get a lot in return. They made it clear from the outset that they weren't going to trade Seth Lugo or Michael Wacha just because they view them as guys that they need next year. I mean, I can't really argue that. And then, at the trade deadline, I think that the game has changed so much where prospects are hyped and really overvalued. And, what we see at the trade deadline, there's no major leaguer for major leaguer.
Yeah.
Expiring contract for a ball 20-year-old pitcher. And, those guys are long shots. So you're kind of giving up a guy, it's a value proposition, but it's not exactly one that works for the Royals no matter what. Just given, how they've built this team, which, again, there's a lot to talk about with, what's wrong with this club. But, there's not going to be a huge return. I thought what they got back for Lane Thomas, a couple of minor league arms that they were able to also, bundle Bailey Falter off, who, wasn't going to pitch at all, for the Royals for the rest of the year, which says something considering how ravaged their pitching staff is. So, they got Carter Holton, a young arm, Lucas Braun, a guy who's a little bit closer to the major leagues. To me, that felt fair. But, again, Lane Thomas is like the guy that everybody's like, well, that's probably going to be your best return. There's a need for right-handed bats in this market, this year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of the guys that has, that does well against lefties. So, he might get you a big return. And again, that return turns out to be a couple of minor league relief pitchers, So expectations are always high. The Royals just never seem to have, they could do something bold, but again, this year injuries have really kind of sapped the team. Maybe if Vinny Pasquantino isn't hurt, they decide to move him as a guy who's under contract, under team control for the next couple of years with a signed deal next year. Maybe they decide to move somebody like a Michael Massey. Again, not somebody who's like really going to excite a fan base, if he's coming to your team, but he's like he's a quality bench bat that a lot of contenders, could use, a good utility player. But, they're not trading Bobby Witt Jr. They're not trading Michael Garcia. They're not trading Caglione or Carter Jensen. So, their hands are kind of tied, and part of that is, through their own roster construction.
So you mentioned Michael Wacha, and it was pretty clear that little duo there, not that they were, attached at the hip, but you mentioned Lugo, you got to mention Wacha and say since they're under club control and they need to be a part of the rotation next year, they're not moving them. Let's say that Michael Wacha's, the interest in him would lead a team to take him and the remaining whatever it is on his contract. Wouldn't that mean that, okay, now JJ has the money that he's saving from this year's and next year's Michael Wacha to replace him in the rotation, and he's just scared to do it. Is that fair to say?
Perhaps.
And do you think someone would have been willing to take on the remaining load of Wacha's contract? I guess maybe we should start there.
Yeah, I think 100%. That is a very team-friendly deal that Michael Wacha is on. I mean, it's like $14 million for next year with a club option for the year after that. So, I mean, you would expect some decline. Of course, he's on the wrong side of 30. He's, an extremely durable starter right now, though. And a guy that I think, again, like a playoff team isn't acquiring Michael Wacha to be their number one or number two starter. But what a Michael Wacha does for a playoff team, for a contender, is gives them a really quality third or fourth starter, which, again, as we know in October, is supremely valuable. So I would think that if the Royals kind of opened up, and my understanding and listening to JJ talk about it was that the Royals basically said, okay, yeah, you want Michael Wacha, it's going to cost you a lot. And I think that scared some teams off. I think that the Royals kind of, planted that flag that they weren't going to be necessarily easy to deal with when it came to Wacha and or Lugo. Lugo makes a lot more money. It's $20 million this year, $20 million next year. And from what I believe at Tots Baseball Contracts, which is a fantastic website with all that contract information, Lugo has a full no trade clause. So the Royals, in that extension last year, when they probably should have traded Seth Lugo when he was one of the more desirable starting pitchers that should have been on the market, they should have done that last year. That's kind of a lesson that we can continue to take from this, is that the Royals boxed themselves into a corner with him specifically, to the point where not only can they not trade him, they lost an opportunity last year to get something maybe of quality that could help them in 2027 or maybe even the latter half of this year. So, huge missed opportunities from the Royals. And again, that's, what we seem to always talk about when we're doing the post-deadline, kind of autopsy as to what this team is up to.
Yeah, not that they're in it for our entertainment, but another boring deadline for the Royals, honestly, all things considered. Into the Fountains, Craig Brown joining us, talking Royals and where they go from here. I'll just put it flatly here, Craig. Why do you think John Schreiber's still on the team?
Search me. Maybe again, it was going to be somebody, a 19-year-old in A-ball that they were going to get, and they just weren't interested in it. Maybe they look at their bullpen, they think he's their second best reliever, which, if you look by ERA, yeah, maybe, sure. But the Royals, expose them to left-handed hitters too much. Part of that's the rule where you got to face three batters every time you come in. But, Schreiber's a guy that can get the right-handed bats out, but, really struggles against the lefties. I mean, they seem to trust him for whatever reason. So, it felt to me also, the guys that they brought in, like the Carlos Duran, that they got back from Los Angeles for Bubic, Nolan Hoffman, the guy that was DFA'd from Philadelphia when they were making their moves yesterday. They picked him up very quickly. The Royals are like trying to see this season to the finish line. That's what it feels to me. They're just like, okay, we have, 50 odd games left to play. We got to do it. The league says we have to do it, but we're just trying to get through this right now. That's what these moves feel like to me, and that's probably why Schreiber's still here. They're like, oh, somebody's got to pitch these middle to late innings. Who else besides Schreiber? I guess I don't know. Yeah.
How about one of the guys that they just acquired? Or how about all the guys that they just acquired instead of him, instead of Ursig, instead of Strom, who's probably not going to be on the team next year? Is that too simplistic?
Well, I think that Carlos Duran, the guy from LA, 90 upper 90s fastball, wipeout slider, swing and miss potential, which this bullpen does not have. Intriguing guy, except he walks, like 5-6 batters per 9 innings. He is wild. So, which is why he hasn't, been in the major leagues other than just a very brief cup of coffee with, the Athletics a year ago. I think, though, the Royals haven't assigned him yet. So I think that the Royals are going to keep him, and he will, be with the team starting today. And I think that the corresponding move is going to be that Matt Strahm will be DFA'd. There's no reason in keeping him around now post deadline. The Royals probably held on to him, see if they could get anything for him. No, of course nobody's calling. So it's probably time to cut him loose, let him go, and let Carlos Duran take that spot. Now that they've got Aaron Bummer on this staff too, as another lefty to work in tandem with Daniel Lynch, who Lynch is another guy they could have traded too. He's their best reliever. And, again, the Royals just struggling to get that car over the line here, reluctant to let, anyone of quality go in that bullpen, which there's not many. It would just basically be Lynch, I think.
So what do you make of Lucas Ursig the rest of the way? He, in his last 7 1/3, has given up 8 hits, 9 runs, 7 earned, more walks than strikeouts. It seems to be more mental than anything with this guy. He got his spot on the team safe for a while, or I think he's got an option left. What do you do with him?
Yeah, I for the life of me, I don't understand why the Royals haven't sent him down. He has options. They need to send him to Omaha. And again, these are the kind of conversations, Shane, that it happens all the time. Hey, struggling player, go down to the minor leagues. We still believe in you, but you got to get right. And this is how you're going to get right. You're going to go down there. You're going to work on this. You're going to do that. And when we see progress in a month, you're going to be back up. The rosters expand, September 1st, send them down and tell them that, hey man, just get your head on straight, build some confidence back up, and then you'll be back with the team. I don't know why they have kept him up here all season long. It really doesn't make any sense to me.
They've tried to your point, every role possible out of the bullpen. He's tried them all. The closer, the setup, low leverage when he was scuffling, like now, and he can't seem to get anybody out. So I get maybe the recency bias last year and the half year before that, where you see the results and you see the stuff's exactly the same, and the results absolutely are not. So that's the definition of insanity to me, Craig.
Yeah, you can feel it. You can feel it watching him. You can feel it just yourself. Go back to Thursday last week, right? Horrible ending to that game in Minnesota. And it's Ursig, getting a couple of outs and then hitting a batter. And, the Royals are still literally 1 out away from a 3-0 win at that point. Ursig hits a batter, and I think everybody that watches this team goes, well, here we go.
Here we go again.
And, of course, yeah, right. And so that, the single that he gave up, it was a pitch off the plate. It was, nice 2-strike hitting. But then he walks a batter, and so then that's it. And then, of course, they turn to Strahm and, game over. It's like as soon as he hit that batter, you could just see that any kind of confidence that he would have had was just gone. And then, it further sinking as he gives up, a single, it wasn't a bad pitch, but, still a single. And yeah, if Ursig is going to be part of this team going forward, the Royals need to get him right. And there's only 2 months left in the season. Otherwise, he's going to, be working all winter and having, this experience in the back of his mind. Nobody wants that. They need to be proactive in trying to get him right. I know that there's not a lot of good options, in the system for the bullpen roles. They're running desperately short of pitchers, but Urseg being a guy that is still under control for, several more years, that has options, try and fix them.
Yeah.
Do something. You can't just keep throwing them out there. Like you said, that is the definition of insanity. You're just going back out there. Maybe this time it'll be different. It's not.
And it wasn't that long ago, Craig, that we were talking about Sweeney and the powers that be that dealt with the pitchers. They were working miracles with Lorenzen, and they were tweaking around with Lugo last year when he was going so good. And almost everybody, to a man, was singing the praises of even Mitch Stetter down there and Sweeney and whoever else got their hands on him. That they were, I don't know if gurus is the right way to put it, but they were in such a good way, and they credited the Royals pitching coaches in tweaking their game, moving them over on different sides of the rubber, that sort of thing. So I don't know if two things can be true, that those guys are so smart and then from one year to the next, they're not, but just continuing to run him back out there. I don't know. It's maddening, obviously, but it's also in a lost season. So maybe we shouldn't get so worked up about it. Besides Duran and your desire for him to be in the bullpen come tonight, and Strom to be gone, is there anything else feasible that bullpen could look like that's different than it is right now moving forward?
Oh boy. I don't think so. They've tried guys, Eli Morgan has been I thought that Eli Morgan was, had the potential to be better. Just again, it's like a kind of a low leverage role.
And to be clear, you need at least one guy like that down in the bullpen. One guy is going to be the low leverage guy. That's just the way it is.
Right. Yeah. When they got Eli Morgan last winter, I was kind of looking at the profile, watching some of the video and thinking to myself, this guy he's a serviceable reliever, right? There's a role, I thought, for him in a major league bullpen. Hasn't worked out with just about every other reliever this year. It's not working. Jose Cuas back, Steven Zobak. We all thought that he was going to be a guy that can contribute. He's still in Double A this year. It has been just a frustrating, regression across the board. And, you mentioned Sweeney, and, they lost Zach Bove at the start of the season, or, last winter. He went to Chicago to be the White Sox pitching coach. Deserved, obviously, for all the wonders that they were working in Kansas City, but I wonder if losing him was a big blow, because again, it sure seems like not only are these guys struggling to stay on the mound, but when they're on the mound, there hasn't been a lot of success. It's been a tough season.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it.
That's the best way.
We all thought it was going to be better, that they would be contending, and of course the Central's weak, the American League in general is weak compared to the National League. There was opportunity there, and the Royals have failed in every facet of the game this year.
I'll read you one final quote from JJ Craig, and I'll let you go. Quote: "When you go around the field, we're not rebuilding the team. It's because we believe in this team. We believe we can compete, that this wasn't a teardown for us." End of quote. Or at least that's when I'll cut it off. Reading between the lines, does it sound like JJ is not blaming injuries, but if not for all the injuries, things would be different around here? Agree or no?
I think that yes, there's been a lot of injuries, but I think that would be a cop out to play it that way.
So why do you think he thinks that this team can compete and he shouldn't tear anything down?
That's a great question. I know that a lot of times these front office guys have to say things like, hey, we feel like we're close. We feel like we're on the right path. Because, of course, the flip side is they get up there and they go, yeah, we're lost. We're screwed. I mean, yeah, we'd all be like, hey, the truth. But, they're not going to do that. But, again, they didn't do enough last winter. Isaac Collins, nice outfielder, nice part. But when your outfield is so bereft of talent, that's not the guy to bring in and be like, we're fixing it. He's like a fourth outfielder type guy. Lane Thomas, again, platoon player. He was their big free agent signing. He was like their only free agent signing of any note. They spent less, I think, than any team other than Cleveland in free agency last winter. There's a lot of work that has to be done to this lineup because, again, we've seen it all too often. Even when I know that the primary starting nine has very rarely been in the lineup together, but there's problems across the board. They're just not scoring enough runs. The pitching is again. Losing Reagans, losing Bubich, that hurt. But the bullpen, I mean, just completely shambolic, just completely has fallen apart as we know. And that's something that they were supposed to be good at, right?
Yeah.
They were supposed to be able to go out and find guys off the scrap heaps from other teams and plug them in. And again, not talking about an 8th or 9th inning guy, but a guy that could slot into the middle innings and bridge that gap. And then of course the acquisition that they made to get Strom, disaster.
Yeah.
Not working out at all. Estevez, was not the same at any point during this off season. We saw him struggle in spring training and the Royals were like, oh, he's fine once we get to the regular season. And what, he's thrown a third of an inning and given up a walk-off grand slam. Okay. There was a lot of work that needed to be done last year, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done this coming off season for the Royals to get into any kind of competitive state.
Subscribe to Into the Fountains. I do. You won't be sorry. It's good Royals content, and it's our good friend Craig Brown joining us talking post-trade deadline when it comes to the Royals. Craig, good talking to you. Not a really uplifting and a great topic, but certainly one that deserves conversation. No. Always appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Shane. Maybe, at some point here in the next, couple of months, something great will happen to this team and we can talk about something, happy for a change.
Hopefully.
We'll hold out some hope.
Exactly. We'll keep our fingers crossed. There he goes, Craig Brown, Into the Fountains. Before we get to the Twitter question, it's brought to you by Top Golf, by the way. We need to give away $30 in scratchers to the Kansas Lottery, courtesy of the Kansas Lottery. Tickets, $30 worth, scratchers, 316-669-4996. Call now. We got the Top Golf Twitter question, and we got Jordan's Juicy Takes after that.
You're listening to the Shane Dennis Show on ESPN Wichita.
Get ready for the 23rd annual Kansas City Zoo Run, September 19th. The Hornbills are taking flight. Join us for the Run for the Hornbills 4-mile run, or bring the whole flock for the 1-mile family fun run walk. Earn your share of the fun with a colorful Hornbill Finisher's Medal, a stylish Go XT, and free KC Zoo admission on race day. Sign up or volunteer now at kansascityzoorun.org, and don't miss this wildly fun adventure.
When your network goes down, your business stops, and so does your revenue. ImageNet Consulting's Managed IT keeps Wichita businesses running with backup disaster recovery and dedicated VCIO support. Visit ImageNet.com.
What do people with blindness or low vision need to live to the fullest? Just ask them. It's skill development, scientific breakthroughs, knowledge-based jobs, and the same opportunities as everyone else. When you give to Envision, whether it be your time, donations, or your engagement, you make it all possible. That's because at Envision, they don't focus on the disability. They value the ability. They choose not to envision a world without sight, but to envision a world where people who are blind or visually impaired are empowered to reach their full potential. Learn more at envisionus.com.
Every school pickup line has a main character. Most days, it's the kids. But once a year, a parent pulls up in a brand new Kia Telluride, and suddenly all eyes are on mom.
Is that the new one? I heard it comes in a hybrid now. I heard it has heated seats
in all 3 rows.
This August, let that parent be you, because mom deserves to shine too. Big savings on great vehicles for that main character energy. Only at Midwest Kia.
We want to see ya in a Midwest Kia.
The future stars of women's golf are returning to the birthplace of the LPGA for the 5th year in a row. Golfers from the Annika Women's All-Pro Tour are set to head to Wichita for the 2026 Heritage Classic presented by Keystone Solid Surfaces at Rolling Hills Country Club September 8th through the 13th. Interact with the golfers by being a part of the Pro-Am or bring the kids for the free Junior Pro-Am and the Kids Golf Clinic. Mark your calendars for September 8th through the 13th for the Heritage Classic presented by Keystone Solid Surfaces.
Hey, ESPN Wichita listeners, let's officially kick off August at Twin Peaks
You can
West.
ask for 'em
Meet us
again.
at the Lodge at Ridge and Taft starting at noon this
Did the
Friday.
dog bark?
Some eats, drinks, and scenic views. We're back at it with
No,
Shane.
I
Dennis
guess
Show,
not, because
also
the
with Pat
phone
Strathman.
didn't ring,
Rolling
right?
from noon to 4 this Friday.
phone
So
didn't
come
ring.
enjoy
Hey.
their scratch-made food, 29-degree drafts, and scenic views this Friday. With ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM, Twin Peaks West, Ridge and Taft. Let's celebrate the summer. We'll see you there. Hey, you guys are usually dying for lottery tickets. That's the late, great Robin Crosby from Rat. 316-669-4996. $30 in scratchers from the Kansas Lottery on the line right now. First caller in at 316-669-4996. Might get rich today on us and the Kansas Lottery. $30 on the line. So call Jack, 669-4996. Couple things to get to before we get to Jordan Susie Takes. Coming up in hour number 2, NFL talk with him, courtesy of Booth Creek Wagyu. Since today is Chocolate Chip Cookie Day, the question on Twitter, courtesy of Top Golf, is what's your go-to chocolate chip cookie? Now, these are on-the-go chocolate chip cookies where you either go to the store or a convenience store or a vending machine. And I left off, I think, pretty under the radar chocolate chip cookie. And it's hard to describe on Twitter in the characters that I have of it, like 25 characters per Twitter. What do you call it here? Not a tournament, but survey, you know. The ones that, and thank you, Charlie. Congratulations on one of the lottery tickets. I don't know if I could have put into 25 characters the little see-through plastic container full of cookies that are just sitting there on the end caps at your local grocery store. There's nothing wrong with those chocolate chip cookies most of the time, especially if you're jonesing for one, or if you're having a party and it's a impulse buy right near the register, regardless of what grocery store you favor, everybody's got one. And so I would have thought that would get honorable mention, but I didn't really know how to word it. So I just kept it to the brand names of when you buy them, either in a vending machine or go to the store. What's your go-to chocolate chip cookie? Grandma's, Famous Amos, or Chips Ahoy? And so far, Grandma's is in the lead. Chips Ahoy, everybody's favorite cookie when you're a little kid. And Famous Amos, more so. I think Famous Amos more so in the vending machines than either of those other two. But anyway, let us know your favorite go-to chocolate chip cookie, assuming you don't make them for yourself. And if you do, I'm sure that's the ones you like the best because you can use as many chocolate chip chips as you want to in the batter. All right. If you want to win $50 gift card from Top Golf, I got an opportunity for you. Texter says Chips Ahoy soft chocolate chip cookie. Yeah, I like Chips Ahoy too. $50 gift certificate our good friends at Top Golf is on the line right now. I'll tell you how here in a second. But if you're looking for the perfect venue to host your next big event in Wichita, look no further than Top Golf Wichita. Whether it's a corporate event, client appreciation night, birthday bash, fundraiser, or tournament, Top Golf Wichita has got you covered. Tee off your next event with Top Golf today. And regardless of your event, you're going to have a good time. We almost went there last night. A couple of us at ESPN Wichita, decided against it. But tee off your next event with Top Golf today. Visit Top Golf Wichita online or call for your reservation. Reserve your date. That number here in Wichita is 316-394-4057. A texter said, I used my Top Golf gift card in St. Louis this weekend. Sweet deal, texter. Here's your next, not yours, texter. Let somebody else win. Text the word cookie to 316-666-2285, and I'll give you a $50 gift card. $50 off to Top Golf if you text me the word cookie, since it's chocolate chip cookie day. 316-666-2285. You want a freebie to Top Golf? Text the word cookie to our text line. When we return, speaking of food, Booth Creek Wagyu brings us Jordan Foote and his juicy takes. That comes your way next.
Wichita's sports leader.
Since you went a little long, I called Jordan early and you only got a minute here.
KKGQ News.
Do you want to be part of the show? Then text us at 316-666-2285. Send your hot takes, react to the biggest stories, and connect with Pat and Shane live on air. Plus, you could win prizes just for joining in on the conversation. It's fast, easy, and your direct line to Wichita's sports leader. Text 316-666-2285 now. And get
Wichita's sports leader.
Wichita, 92.3
ESPN Wichita. 92.3 FM, KKGQ News.
Stretch run against Corpus Christi on Tuesday, August the 11th. Starts with a 2 for Tuesday, continues with a Wet Nose Wednesday, a Turbo Tubs Thirsty Thursday with discounted drinks. Friday brings post-game fireworks and more. Saturday, Walker Jenkins bobblehead, and Sunday is Kids Day at the ballpark. Join the fun and get your tickets at windsurge.com and listen to the game tonight from Northwest Arkansas at 7:05 on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
George's Juicy Takes, brought to you by Booth Creek Wagyu. Sports fans know the best games deserve the best food. Nothing beats Booth Creek Wagyu, raised right here in Kansas. Whether it's burgers on the grill, steak night at home, tailgating for the big game, Booth Creek Wagyu brings you premium flavor, unmatched tenderness, and a true farm-to-table experience. Stop by their 21st and Webb location here in Wichita. Taste the difference for yourself. Also, this Friday, stop by their 21st and Webb location because they have a lunch special every Friday. And this Friday, it is lasagna soup. It's delicious. Everything that BCW rolls out there on Fridays for a lunch special is delicious. But lasagna soup this Friday, so make a note. Mark the date. And when you go in there to get you some lasagna soup, mention ESPN Wichita or my show or any combination thereof. They'll give you $2 off. So a discount if you tell them you heard them on my show when you go for the Friday lunch special. And then next Friday, it's even better than the lasagna soup, if you can imagine that. So Booth Creek Wagyu, 21st and Webb. If you want to check out their cuts of meat online, go to boothcreekwagyu.com to order. Jordan Foote is the Jordan attached to Jordan's Juicy Takes. Jordan, some money to talk about when it comes to NFL players. First of all, Bijan Robinson, just by definition, became the richest running back in the history of the league. You can kind of understand considering the form he's rounded into in Atlanta. Do you think this makes sense for the Falcons, and how dangerous are they, even though their quarterback situation is a little bit in flux?
Shane, I have to say before I
get going here, I need to start eating lunch before I come on with you, not afterwards, because then I hear about BCW and all the
I know.
good deals going on. I overeat afterwards. Man, I got to get that short up. But back to what they have a lot more money to spend on lunch than I do, these running backs and wide receivers that are getting paid. And Bijan definitely is worth it. And it's one of those things where both the most recently paid but also highest paid line up at the same time, and everyone makes a big deal usually and says, oh my goodness, this guy is the highest paid, blah, blah, blah. And then in a few months, it's reset. And that very well could happen here with Jahmyr Gibbs and his payday with the Detroit Lions approaching. But Bijan is absolutely amazing. Rookie year, a little bit of a slow start, got going well over, 1,400 rushing yards, almost 2,300 scrimmage yards last year, double-digit touchdowns, carrying the offense, bad quarterback play. The defense was terrible in 2024, a little bit better in 25. But I must admit, I'm not really buying anything the Falcons are selling this year. Are they going to be an 8-9 team even? I'm not too sure. And the problem comes down to that quarterback play. If your roster is a 2025 Seahawks type of team, then okay, you can even make a playoff berth with subpar quarterback play. But Penix, too injured, the mobility is limited, the accuracy has been rough thus far in his NFL career. And then I just don't think that Tua is going to be able to survive a full season. And when he's asked to put the team on his back, he's routinely kind of flopped. So as much as I want to say the Falcons can be a little bit feisty, I think that not only are they not going to be, but I can see him regressing from that 8 wins they had a year ago.
And it seems like they're going about it the right way, paying everybody except the quarterback. Yeah. But if you can't stay on the field, I can see this being a really painful year for the Falcons if things don't work out with Tua and or Penix because they can't stay healthy,
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, they have weapons there. Drake London is awesome. I've always been a really big fan of his, even coming into the NFL draft. They got the Kyle Pitts situation figured out. The offensive line should be solid. They just paid Matthew Bergeron a pretty significant market resetting deal. So they're going to be okay roster-wise, but I'm with you 1,000%. Building it the right way where you do everything, then hopefully land the quarterback. And listen, Penix, that goose probably cooked. Tua was a nice little lottery ticket this offseason, kind of akin to what the Vikings did with Kyler, but Tua doesn't have that same game-changing, game-breaking ability to make the highlight plays, and I feel like that's only going to become lesser the case as he continues to kind of bounce around the league.
So you already brought him up. He was next on my list as far as the questions concerned. Jahmyr Gibbs, he next as far as the payday?
Yeah, absolutely. And Dan Campbell kind of alluded to it today and said that it wouldn't hurt that Bijan got his deal done. And we see this with high-paid position players where they just wait out the other one so the next guy can make $1,000 more and they can say they're the highest paid, whatever it's going to be. And that title, I think, is overrated in sports most of the time. But Gibbs, one of the fastest players in the NFL. I know that Xavier Worthy broke the 40-yard dash record at the NFL Combine, but in the open field, you're hard-pressed to find a player who's more elusive than Jahmyr Gibbs. He's been able to withstand a little bit more of a workload, 250 carries in 24, 243 last year. David Montgomery no longer in town. He's moved on. And you could pitch him and Isaiah Pacheco type of duo, but I think it's really going to just be the Jahmyr Gibbs show, and rightfully so, because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's slippery. He's elusive. He's fast. He has all the bursts. He's still a young player, only 24 years old, so he's nowhere near that running back aging curve. I still think that you're going to get 3-4 more really productive Pro Bowl type years from him. And if he does reset the market and gets paid higher than Bijan, then so be it. I think that he's equally worth a pretty hefty salary.
And don't be fooled by the window dressing. The Lions do a lot of fancy stuff, but they want to run the ball.
Yes, 1,000%. And Jared Goff needs that type of under center run game, play action. And listen, he is better than he was on the Rams, and his numbers have been almost otherworldly the past few years. Like you stack him up with even Patrick Mahomes, and the numbers go to Jared Goff, and that's kind of my poster child for the numbers don't always tell the whole story, because I do think that there's plenty of insulation. When Ben Johnson was there, that was helping quite a bit. Goff is better than he was. At the same time, though, he does need a very sound running game. He needs a little bit of a, like when you go bowling and you bring someone who doesn't go, often you throw the bumpers up there if needed. Like that's kind of Jared Goff is this tier 2.5 quarterback, and the athletic tiers came out today. I thought they were actually pretty accurate for once, in that Goff is good. Don't get me wrong, but a good run game, a good coaching staff, good insulation does help quite a bit.
Jordan's Juicy Takes brought to you by Booth Creek Wagyu. Who would you rather have, Zay Flowers or Chris Olave? Because they both got paid too. Different position, big extensions at wide receiver. Who you got?
I think I'm ever so slightly leaning Chris Olave, and I don't feel great about it because of the injury history with him. It's not like he's ancient by any means, but the concussion history, he always seems to be banged up multiple times a year. But also he hasn't had very good quarterback play. Zay Flowers has had excellent quarterback play in his seasons in the NFL. So Zay Flowers, I was shocked to see him get that much. And I think it was really, you look at the wide receiver market right now, JSN worth it, Jamar Chase, London, Jefferson, CD. It was the DK Metcalf deal that kind of ruined everything for everyone on the shorter term. Then he gets the long-term deal in Pittsburgh, $33 million. Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins. Most of these guys are worth what they're getting paid. And then when Olave got his, I kind of cocked my head a little bit and said, okay, well, that's more than I would have given him, but I understand why they did it, especially in New Orleans. But the Zay Flowers deal, there's no way you can really justify that, in my opinion. You can't say, oh, it's not about the highest paid, it's about the most recently paid. Anytime you can give a, let's say, 20th best receiver in the NFL the Justin Jefferson contract, apparently you have to do it, because that's exactly what they did. He's electric after the catch. Love them coming out of the draft. Don't get me wrong. Again, very, very fun player who might have one more very small leaps to his game. But even then, I don't think he's ever going to be a top 10 player in the league. With the most recently paid dynamic and the rhetoric that we always throw around, still a really, really rough contract for a team that I think they generally do good business in the front office. This is one that I scratched my head at when it happened. And even after the shock value wore off, I still just don't feel very good about the deal.
Were you well, is this the right way to word this? Were you surprised of the candor in which Baker Mayfield spoke to the media a couple of days ago about the Buccaneers and his contract talks?
Just a little bit, and not much, because it is Baker Mayfield. And at first, when he came into the league and I was kind of buying into some of the narratives surrounding him, I thought, okay, this guy's kind of a punk. Like, I don't think he can be your face of the franchise type of guy. And now the more and more he goes through his career, and really the Rams and Panthers stints are what woke me up. I just root for Baker every time. Like,
I do too.
He's fun to watch. He's electric. Yeah, he's everything that I want in kind of an underdog. And then he comes out in 24, throws 41 touchdowns, still has the boneheaded turnovers, still has the lowering his shoulder into people. I get where the Buccaneers are coming from. I really do, because he's no longer a young guy. He plays a style of football that does lead him to get injured a little bit. And he's also not the biggest player. So do you want to give him this unquestioned 50+ million club? The flip side of that, Trevor Lawrence has cracked that club. Jordan Love has gotten into it. Brock Purdy has gotten into it. Jared Goff has also gotten into it. So you can say all you want that Baker Mayfield isn't a top 7, top 8, top 10 quarterback, but that's also true for Brock Purdy, who I like a lot. It's also true for Trevor Lawrence, who I haven't been a big fan of, and he hasn't quite justified it. Daniel Jones is making $44 million on that short-term deal. So Baker's right to want A, the longer term deal that these guys are getting, B, the per year average annual value that he's getting. But back to your original point, just a little bit shocked that he came out and said flat out, disappointed, frustrated, whatever emotion you want to call it. That's what he is. And then good luck to you, because it's only going to get worse, because I'm going to come out here and deliver one heck of a season, and hopefully my play does the talking. But it kind of gave the vibe, and I don't want to put words into Baker's mouth, and maybe this comes back to bite me, but barring a really deep playoff run and a Super Bowl appearance, it seems like he's kind of fed up with them at this point because of either the term, the salary, or both. And that's disappointing, because a really good quarterback might be having to find his way somewhere else at some point if it continues to break down.
He's not exactly a guy known to toe the line anyway, as you mentioned, but I think he's fresh out of F's anyway, if he had any. And so when somebody asks him a question, he's just going to answer it. And, the consequences be damned, as long as he doesn't completely drag the organization through the mud, which I don't think he did. But there's no cliches. There's no speaking in vague generalities with him. And I'm with you, man. I'm Team Baker. I don't care. I hope he throws 50 touchdowns, regardless of who it's for.
I do too. And he's younger, I believe, than when Geno was going through this arc. I think he's also better at his peak than Geno ever was, even though he was falling out for a bit with the Seahawks. Like, that was where my head immediately went and said, oh my goodness, what if he goes somewhere else and turns into a pumpkin? But I think even when Liam Cohn was there, and then that was no longer the case last year, Baker still played pretty productive football. He did take a step back, but I think was also banged up for part of the year. I'm not trying to make the case of him being an upper echelon starter, but man, if there was ever a guy that I needed more than a bridge, but also didn't want to quite break the bank for, but I really wanted to lead my franchise, I'd be hard pressed to find a guy on the open market that is available, that maybe like the hot-headedness, the bluntness that he operates with. I'm just a big fan of it, and you can love him or hate him, but I'm a definite Baker fan at this point.
I know it's only August 4th, but Deebo Samuel back to the 49ers again. Seemed like a foregone conclusion, but they're not exactly the healthiest wide receiver room ever. It looks like there's already a season-ending injury to one of those guys. Mike Evans just recently went on the shelf. Brandon Ayuk, what's next for him? What was it? Pearsall that's out for the year. And it's a weird wide receiver room. And then here we go with the reunion again with Deebo. Is there anything left with Deebo Samuel as far as production is concerned? And would that concern you if you're a 49ers fan, the state of the wide receivers right now?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not one to believe in this electrical substation theory. The more players that get hurt, the more I want to see continued studies on it. And listen, Mike Evans is an older player on the back nine of his career, probably the last few holes, legendary player, very big fan. When he's at his best, he can still be your top wideout unquestionably, but he's had these quad hamstring, soft tissue kind of old man injuries multiple years in a row. It was only a matter of when, not if. And I guess you can kind of, if you're a 49ers fan, have the cope of, well, okay, he doesn't need training camp anyway, and he'll understand the offense and get him out there week one, and it'll be fine. But Ricky Pearsall sitting out so long and opting against surgery, trying to rehab the injury standalone, only to need it anyway. Stribling, the rookie who most people thought that they overdrafted, but the media has kind of swung back in the other direction. There's just a ton of pressure on him to be now one of the top 2-3 options on that offense. And Deebo, he can still do some of the Deebo stuff. I don't think the rushing component is really there anymore, but he's a really fun short area target, roughly like 60% within 9 yards of the line of scrimmage or behind it with the Commanders last year. Like, Deebo's going to Deebo. He gels well with the Shanahan offense. That's all fine and dandy. But you look at that wide receiver room, it's pretty rough if Mike Evans isn't out there, because Christian Kirk is perennially hurt. Deebo is not always super healthy. Demarcus Robinson is fun, but we know who Demarcus Robinson is. And then Ayuk, who knows what the heck is going to happen with him. Like, I'd be floored if he ever was technically a 49er again in a practice capacity. He claims that he's a Washington Commander and is even, posting about it and wearing the helmet and all that good stuff. But that ship has rightfully sailed. George Kittle is quietly older than I believe a lot of people think, a mid-30s tight end. So it's iffy. It's not good. I suppose the timing with Evans, if it was going to happen all year once, you would want it to happen now, but I kind of worry that maybe this isn't the only time he's going to get hurt.
Kind of a shame, isn't it, too, because the season basically opens up with Rams 49ers in like Australia or something, right?
Yeah, no, it is really sad. And like, even for Kyle Shanahan, like, I feel bad for kind of the narrative that his career has had as like this big game choking head coach, when he's one of the 2 or 3 best coaches in the sport. And I don't think that's really up for debate. Like, he's an awesome offensive mind. He has not always had the best quarterback play. And as a Brock Purdy fan who thinks that he was underrated for quite a while, he's not a top 10 player at the positions. And Shanny's routinely pumping out these unstoppable, seemingly offenses. So injuries have been really weird in San Fran. They've had bad luck over time. I think last year it was a combo of both, and the defensive personnel just wasn't very good. So if Mike Evans is fully back in a month, great. But if you have to end up rushing him back, then you get into the old adage of, do we load manage him? Do we preserve him for later in the year? It's a tough situation to be in for a team that already was counting on Pearsall to do something good. And now he's out for the year. Stribling has already been banged up a little bit. So I don't envy the 49ers offense at all.
Okay, here in a couple of days, we got the Hall of Fame game. It's exhibition football, but it's football. They're going to have referees. They're going to turn the scoreboard on, so we will have some football. It's Carolina and Arizona, and apparently Kenny Pickett against Carson Beck. Those are your starting quarterbacks. Now, they probably won't stay in there very long, but will you at least take a peek of this one because it's kind of, sort of real football, or are you going to hold off a little bit?
I have a golf league here in the Kansas City Metro every Thursday, and we usually tee off at, 4:45, 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And go back to the clubhouse, have a couple adult beverages, chit-chat about life, all that good stuff. I should be leaving right around 7:30, 7:45, which would put me able to watch maybe the third, fourth series of that game. So I'm definitely going to tune in because I'm a sicko and I've missed football and I want to see how Carson Beck looks. The Kenny Pickett thing I could probably do without.
Sure.
But I will certainly be catching at least, I'd say, half of that game because I can't help myself.
All right. Fair enough. We'll have that to talk about maybe, but we'll have some other stuff to ramp up toward the regular season starting next week when Jordan comes back. His weekly appearance here on the show is brought to you by Booth Creek Wagyu. Jordan, have a great week, buddy.
You too.
All right, Jordan Foote. There he goes. BCW bringing you his appearances every Tuesday. Remember, every Friday, got a lunch special out at Booth Creek Wagyu. This Friday, it's going to be lasagna soup, 21st and Webb location. And tell the good folks at BCW, if you go out there Friday and have lunch with them, you won't regret it, by the way. If you're anywhere near the Northeast Wichita area and you don't have plans for lunch on a Friday, go to Booth Creek. Every week, they've got a special for lunch. And if you tell them you heard about it on my show, on ESPN Wichita, something like that, let them know that you heard about the special from me. They'll give you $2 off of your lunch, regardless of what the special is. It'll be something different next Friday. After this Friday when it's lasagna soup. It's delicious. Owe it to yourself. Give it a try. 21st and Webb, Booth Creek Wagyu. Tell them ESPN Wichita sent you. Another edition of Ask the Producer. I know I promised you yesterday some CBA talk when it comes to Major League Baseball. That collective bargaining agreement, the most recent one, is set to expire this winter. And I was going to have a guest on today to talk about it. We've moved that to later on in the week. We will still talk about it. and it's an old friend of the program. It's going to come back, and he's got many, many thoughts about Major League Baseball, the CBA, big market versus small market. Got a lot of opinions. So we'll talk about that, but can't do it today. We'll talk about it later on this week, and we'll lead you up to it a little bit more when we get closer to time. It's probably Thursday or Friday, but we'll keep you posted on that. Instead, coming up next, ATP NFL style with Jack. Next.
You're listening to the Shane Dennis Show on ESPN Wichita.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text SPARK to 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 215-215. That's SPARK to 215-215. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
What do people with blindness or low vision need to live to the fullest? Just ask them. It's skill development, scientific breakthroughs, knowledge-based jobs, and the same opportunities as everyone else. When you give to Envision, whether it be your time, donations, or your engagement, you make it all possible. That's because at Envision, they don't focus on the disability. They value the ability. They choose not to envision a world without sight, but to envision a world where people who are blind or visually impaired are empowered to reach their full potential. Learn more at envisionus.com.
Furnished by IntelliBrands. Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Get an Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact. Improve your flexibility and balance. Strengthen and tone your legs.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better, and it makes me feel stronger too.
My circulation is moving. I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
It's so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. And for a limited time, get a free upgrade to our deluxe bundle with a faster motor, sport mat, and wireless remote. Call 800-555-1212. That's 800-555-1212. 800-555-1212 now. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
Get ready for a new NFL season with the best coverage of Chiefs training camp on ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM.
He looks pretty good. Obviously, Pat's one of the hardest workers on the team. He's worked so hard to get back from that knee, and obviously he's a leader on the team, and he wants to show guys that he's all in, so we're all in with him.
From training camp to the Super Bowl, Wichita's best Chiefs coverage. ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM.
I could stay awake just to hear
It's Billy Bob Thornton's birthday. He's not singing this, but he's in Armageddon, so that's close enough. Jack Johnson alongside. We haven't heard from him much today. We will right now, though, because we have some breaking news when it comes to Royals transactions. Just recently, the Royals Twitter account announced that they're activating Bobby Witt Jr. from the injured list. That's good news. They've also recalled Jose Cuas from Omaha, right-handed relief pitcher. and they've designated Matt Strom for assignment and done the same with Andrew Velasquez. So, Jack, you and I both agreed that there's no reason for Matt Strom to be on this team after the trade deadline, and now apparently he no longer is. So it's a step in the right direction. And again, I'm not advocating for people losing their jobs, but this is a business. And first of all, Andrew Velasquez, who we barely talked about, was not a big leaguer. For a team not going anywhere, I suppose you could argue, since they're not going anywhere, he's not hurting anybody being on the team. But taking Bobby Witt Jr.'s place, he's the logical domino to fall. And Matt Strom, DFA'd. That, look, nobody's rooting for that, but that's the most logical next step that we hope the Royals would take, and they at least showed the spine to take that, even though Lucas Ursig apparently is still on the team, even though we don't want him DFA'd necessarily, because I don't think that would be a prudent move. But sending him down, if he's got options, to me makes more sense, and to many makes more sense, because there's not a spot in the game that you really trust him to put him in there until he figures some things out mentally. So is that somewhere between 1 to 10 as far as sense of the move made that satisfies Jack Johnson? Is it basically 5? It's like, all right, Bobby's ready, so come back. Get rid of Velasquez because he's not a big leaguer. Get rid of Strom and call up anybody you want. Anything further to add to that as far as that transaction I just read?
I mean, hey, it's great to see Bobby back in the lineup. I don't care if this team's 100 games under 500. I'd much rather see Bobby Witt Jr. hit second and play shortstop, because it's not to throw dirt on an open wound, because I'm sure Andrew Velasquez isn't feeling well, but oh my goodness. I don't know in the last decade if there was one single player that was barely here that had less than 30 at-bats that I had less confidence in connecting with the ball.
To get the ball out of the infield, I would have said. But
he started his Royals career 1-for-1 on a bunt single and never recorded another hit. Had more errors than hits. Hey, I don't know what's next for him. And like I said, I don't want to speak illy of the man, because it wasn't his choice. I mean, he got an opportunity, but he didn't do very much with it. My complaint would be this, though. Okay, so you DFA Matt Strom, right? And you hang on to John Schreiber for reasons I may never know. Lucas Ursig, who does have minor league options, is still in that bullpen, right? You are trying to figure out ways to, I guess, reinvent this bullpen in the final 49 games. Why are you bringing back Jose Cuas? What's the point of acquiring Nolan Hoffman, Carlos Duran, right? Lucas Braun? What's the point then?
I agree.
Right? I have no idea, other than these guys decline getting promoted or were not healthy enough, which would be a whole nother reason. We've seen what Jose Cuas can do. The last thing I want to see from the Royals, more so that, like, I would take a 12-game losing streak. And I know this is going against what I said the other day, which is I will always take cleaner baseball, enjoyable baseball over long losing streaks.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a bullpen up there of a bunch of guys you're trying to evaluate and you just continue to lose, I can live with it. The Royals win this series against the Twins, getting great outings from Schreiber, Jose Cuas, Lucas Ursig, Aaron Bummer. I don't care. I don't care at all. It's not to say I would take Carlos Duran coming up and getting blown up in one inning, and that would certainly suck to see. But I don't get this. JJ said last night on the Zoom call or the Zoom presser that they were going to figure out what they want to do with Duran, whether he's going to go to Omaha or Kansas City due to probably the moves that were coming. How did you land on this?
Yeah.
You DFA Strom and say, well, we might as well get another look at Jose Cuas. what good do these guys that were already pitching in AAA, and maybe somebody's got more of a idea on Matt Strahm than I do, so I'll wrap this up quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, man. We've seen what we needed to see out of some of these guys. Okay, they dropped off, so maybe I said what they wanted to. We've seen what we've needed to see from these guys. We don't need to see them anymore. There's 49 games left. We need to see if Carlos Duran's an actual big leaguer, if Lucas Braun is a big leaguer, if Nolan Hoffman can stick in a bullpen. Why? It's, hey, DFAing Matt Strahm, I'm glad they did that because there was no other reason, and I feel for the guy. Like you said, Shane, we're not rooting for guys to lose their job, but this is a business. Baseball is a business, and when you're not doing your job and you're making a lot of money to fail, then somebody else deserves a shot.
Yeah.
Jose Cuas did okay in his limited role last year, but Jose Cuas ain't going to be here next year. So why not give some of these guys you just acquired an opportunity to get some confidence going into the offseason?
Yep. Okay, so we'll pick that up tomorrow and where we leave off, because the homestand about to begin tonight as the Royals are back home after that pretty crappy 10-game roadie, the trade deadline, a day off, and now here we go. Bobby's back, so is Cuas, Velasquez gone, and Strahm gone. All right, ATP real quick. We've got Ask the Producer is the segment, and the topic is NFL. And I have in my possession here a list of the 25 best single-season sack performances by an individual guy. There are multiple 19-plus sack seasons by individuals. There are a handful of guys that have done it twice, but it's been done a total of 25 times. Someone that has 19 sacks or more in an NFL season. It is totaling 25. Again, some people have done it more than once. So as we go, we'll cross them off and see how many Jack knows. Jack, here you go. Who has recorded 19 or more sacks in one NFL season?
And this is all time or just active?
No, all time. Sorry.
All time.
There
okay.
are
Let's go with
since you asked, 1, 2.
Can't
3,
imagine there's many.
3. Actually, 2 different guys, and one's done it twice. So yeah, all the rest of them are retired.
The active ones, give me TJ Watt and give me Myles Garrett.
TJ Watt's done it twice. Myles Garrett has done it once. Garrett has a record of 23. Watt actually has a 22.5 sack season, which tied Michael Strahan for second. And he's also got one of those at 19, which is the cutoff. So yes, there's 2 guys.
Yeah, I had to say TJ Watt first because one of my best buddies is a diehard Steeler fan. He always gets up in arms about who's the better edge rusher, and TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, at least at their peak when they're healthy. TJ Watt, though, I believe incredibly underrated for how good he is, right? We always give the love to Myles Garrett. Now let's go to the all-time guys. You know Michael Strahan has
22.5, which I actually just gave that away, but yes, 22.5.
Reggie White.
Reggie White had a 21 sack season. Yes.
Okay. How about the one who broke it for the Chiefs about a decade ago, Justin Houston?
Justin Houston had a 22 sack season. Very good.
Remember, he got a couple at the very end against the Chargers. Also, aside from last year, going 6-11, that was the only time Andy Reid missed the postseason. That was a 9-7 Chiefs team in 2014, I believe. Let's go with, how about J.J. Watt?
J.J. Watt had a 20.5 sack season twice. So he's on the list twice.
Okay.
Again, we're looking for 19 or more sacks in one season all time.
So we're 100% so far.
Yes, we are.
Okay, I got to go with Derek Thomas.
DT had a 20 sack season once. Yes.
All right. This is one that I'm like 60% confident in, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway.
Okay.
How about Jared Allen?
Jared Allen had 22 sacks one year.
Nice.
So he was way up there. Yes.
Okay. Let's go with how about Von Miller?
Unfortunately, Von Miller's best
there's
year
my
was
first miss.
18 and a half. So he fell a half a sack shy of this list. Great guess, but he didn't make it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How about trying to go for some of these one-hit wonders that did it?
You'll be surprised at some of these one-hit wonders. I was.
I bet.
Yeah.
One that's coming to mind, but there's no way. I'm just speaking out loud here.
That's
It's not
okay.
my guess. I don't believe Jadeveon Clowney ever did it.
You're right. He didn't.
But I know he had one really good year that got him paid. Going over some of those great, you know what? How about Terrell Suggs?
Terrell Suggs did not get to 19. He did not make the list.
Okay. Did Simeon Rice ever do it?
That's a really good guess, but he did not.
I got to stick to edge rushers here and just see where it takes me here. You know what? Oh, he's active. No, I wonder, out of curiosity, what's the most that Nick Bosa's ever gotten?
He's right on the cusp. He had 18 and a half was his best. So he was a half sack away from making it too. Khalil Mack also did not quite make it. So,
wow, that was actually, I was going there or Max Crosby.
Yeah, Khalil Mack had a 17
Crosby.
sack year, but fell a little short.
Let me jump over to, wait, you're telling me that Micah Parsons doesn't have a 20 sack season?
That's what I'm telling you.
I got to think a little bit further.
Max Crosby's best year is Max Crosby, best he did is 14 and a half. Micah Parsons, 14.
Okay.
In summation, 19 sacks in a year is a hell of a lot of sacks. That is a great year.
And there shouldn't be. How many more do I have to get?
A lot. There's 4 or 5 no-brainers that you'd be like, oh yeah. But there's some randos on the list. I'll just say Clyde Simmons from the Eagles had a 19 sack year. Robert Quinn.
Ooh, I could have eventually gotten there,
Maybe,
but it would have taken me more than a few guesses.
Chandler Jones, 19. Alden Smith, 19 and a half.
And RIP, right?
Uh-huh. Robert Mathis, 19 and a half. And some character named Tim Harris had 19 and a half. The rest of these guys, you can come up with at least one of them. I'll give you a chance to get at least one more of these guys. One guy's on here twice. He had a 22 and a 19 sack season, old timer. One other guy had a 21 sack season. I believe he's dead too. One guy just retired. One guy was judged by many to be the best of all time at his position. And one other guy used to play for the Cowboys and is on this list twice.
Oh, one I should have guessed this right after Strahan because it was Mark Gastineau.
There you go. Gastineau
hated Brett Favre.
That's right. 22 plus 19. So yes.
Which
weirdo.
I don't know why he was so mad at Brett Favre when he for some reason thought that Favre just slid down.
I think it was a bit.
He rolled out.
I think it was a bit.
It had to have been because Strahan was right there. When he rolled out, it was like he did play action and there was Strahan with his big arms all the way up in the air.
I'd have done the same thing.
You're telling me you're just going to.
Yep.
Everyone would have done the same thing.
Right.
Except for Gastineau because he never played quarterback.
That's right.
I haven't guessed Deacon Jones, have I?
No, it's funny you mentioned that because he's on the unofficial list. There are a lot of unofficial guys that have more than 19 sacks, and Deacon Jones absolutely is. So I won't count that against you. But that was before sacks were recorded.
I even have a jersey of this guy. I This one I should be kicking myself repeatedly over. How about Lawrence Taylor?
Lawrence Taylor had a 20.5 sack season, joining Aaron Donald, Chris Dolman, DeMarcus Ware twice, and Shaq Barrett. There's your list.
Shaq Barrett.
Also Bruce Smith, 19, former Bill great.
Yep.
There you go. There's Ask the Producer. It's 1:42. When we come back, we will play a Tuesday edition of I'm Old Jack Young. Next.
The Shane Dennis Show will be right back on ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM.
Right there.
Hi, it's Jeff from CBD American Shaman, Wichita and
Right
Derby.
there.
Two
I think
great
it looks
locations
groovy.
in the Wichita area. Located
I think it
at
looks
21st and Rock in Wichita and Baltimore and Market in Derby. What do you think of when you hear American Shaman? Do you think of CBD? How about relief? What about relaxation or recreation? Well, we're here to say maybe you should. We celebrate CBD every day. Stop into American Shaman, Wichita or Derby, and get
Yeah.
a free sample where relief, relaxation, and recreation are better with the feather.
You allow
What
it,
do
huh?
people with blindness or low vision need to live to the fullest? Just ask them. It's skill development, scientific breakthroughs, knowledge-based
Little wider?
jobs,
Back
and the
it up a
same
little bit.
opportunities as everyone else. When you give to Envision, whether it be your time, donations, or your engagement, you make it all possible. That's because at Envision, they don't focus on the disability. They value the ability. They choose not to envision a world without sight, but to envision a world where people who are blind or visually impaired are empowered to reach their full potential. Learn more at envisionus.com.
For over 55 years and 2 generations, the Southwestern Remodeling Professionals have been providing homeowners in the Wichita area with a truly unique luxury remodeling experience. From the initial consultation through project design and production, our team provides concierge-style service with a true focus on the best quality products and professional installation. Are you ready to experience something truly different? Give us a call today at 263-1239 or visit southwesternremodeling.com.
Stay connected with Wichita's sports leader. Follow ESPN Wichita 92.3 on social media for everything you need. Breaking news, local coverage, exclusive interviews, and behind-the-scenes content. Join the conversation on X and Instagram at ESPN Wichita. Watch exclusive video and live shows on the ESPN Wichita YouTube. And find us on Facebook and our new LinkedIn page. Don't just listen, be part of the action. Follow ESPN Wichita 92.3 today.
It feels just like it was yesterday. We were in love, was it falling apart? I've never been one to walk away, but I've had enough, and it's breaking my heart. 'Cause you love me just the way that you should. It's nothing that you do, no, it's nothing you say. Baby, I know that you're good, but I don't want a good girl, no, not today.
I'm Old Jack Young.
I want it bad. I want a good girl, baby, bad. I want a love that's crazy, yeah. I want a love.
Pat is here. Pulse coming up.
Yeah, you love me just the way that you should. It's nothing that you do, no, it's nothing you say. Oh, pretty baby, I know that
I don't know about this one.
but I don't want a good girl, no, not today. 'Cause I want it bad. I want a bad girl, baby, bad.
Is this a group?
Tis. I won't fault you for not getting it, though.
I have no idea.
Okay. Makes me feel a little better.
Because it doesn't sound like a typical boy band group that I would recognize.
Kind of a familiar
It's technically a rock band, and this song came out in 2011.
Never heard it until today.
No, same. Lead Jack with soccer. All right, who is it?
This is the Cab.
Is that their famous song?
The Cab.
Third most famous, probably.
Angel with a Shotgun. Endlessly. Temporary Bliss. What was that song?
He doesn't know.
That was bad.
Lock Me Up.
Whoa.
Sweet Kerosene. I can't say I recognize the Cab.
Angel with a Shotgun is probably their number one hit.
Okay. Sorry. Wish I could help. That was tricky. That was a hard one.
Cab.
I feel like these last couple of weeks, you've really have stumped me more often than not. So kudos to you for finding these bands. I'm having a tougher time identifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on what, year 4 of this?
Yeah, I know. Right.
I'm
Good point.
I'm kind of running out of artists, to be honest. I think we actually need to go do another month of 80s that we did that, but it has to be your birthday month.
Yeah, so we need 11 more months for us to do that again.
Well,
We got a ways to go.
Just do 90s. You know, my birthday month, just do 90s.
All right, we could.
There you go.
We could start this month, do 90s. Next month, do
Okay.
70s. I don't know.
Starting tomorrow.
I don't think, whatever.
Starting tomorrow or starting Friday? Your pick.
All right, let me think about it. First of all, we need to celebrate some birthdays. August 4th. Non-Big Four. The first two are non-Big Four. We'll start with Kurt Busch, who's 48,
Driver.
correct? And then Jeff Gordon's 55.
Had oh man, who was his car branded by? I actually had, because me and my brother were big into Hot Wheels, so you had a bunch of NASCAR cars there too, and that was a popular one. That one and Tony Stewart, of course, with Home Depot. But what? It was blue and red. What was it?
Was it DuPont?
Probably. I just remember exactly what the car looks like, but I cannot for the life of me think what the brand was. And Bush, he was a black car, right?
He was a beer for a while. He was
had to be,
of course. The number 2 car is what he was.
Spelled the exact same way,
right?
Not Bush Light. Yeah.
No, actually, Kurt Busch. Now I'm speaking on my. You know what? I think he drove the Miller Lite car for a while.
That might be.
And right. Gordon drove the Rainbow car.
Yeah.
Gordon also drove the
Kurt
Pepsi
Busch.
car, according to a texter.
He's driving Monster now.
Yeah.
Kurt Busch is.
All right. Wow.
That's actually a fun ask the producer one of these days of who branded these famous drivers' cars.
All time, who drove this car?
Yes.
Because throughout the course of history, there's multiple guys that drove that particular car for sure.
Mhm.
What about the late, great Kyle Busch?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what his was, but I'm pretty sure it was a popular sponsor.
There's at least 2 of them. Oh, Miller Lite was Rusty Wallace. Yep. Okay.
Red Bull?
No, he drove the M&M's car and he drove the Double Mint car.
M&M's,
I remember the M&M's one. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, a guy I just asked you about celebrating a birthday today.
Is that on purpose?
No. Clyde Simmons, one of the guys that had a 19-sack season. There's your hint.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, football.
Yeah, okay. Good job. 62. Also 62, BJ Surhoff.
Basketball.
Jack. This guy is a former baseball player that went 1-1. Infielder for the Orioles. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Roger Clemens, 64.
Father of Cody.
Correct.
But also Red Sox, Yankee, Astro.
Blue
Doesn't
Jay.
like shattered bats coming back to the mound.
Right.
BJ Surhoff didn't do too much, did he?
No, he didn't.
Look at his career.
I mean, he was okay.
I mean, 18 years in the big leagues is 18 years in the big leagues.
How many All-Stars?
But for sure not a Hall of Famer.
Was he ever an All-Star?
Once.
Okay, one time.
1999.
He's
in the Brewers Wall of Honor. He's in the Orioles Hall of Fame, but he's not in the big boy.
You need
Hall
to
of
do
Fame.
more than that if you're a 1-1. But whatever. John Riggins, 77.
And I feel like we just talked about him, but football, obviously.
Correct.
And KU.
Correct.
KU, great.
Correct.
Born in Seneca, Kansas.
Word is he still has some land in Seneca. Can you confirm or deny?
I'm sure he probably does.
I think he does. I got
Centralia is
You know what's
probably
kinda
another good
crazy?
spot too.
What, Jack? What is?
Because Allen Fieldhouse has the, like a KU Hall of Fame, basically. It's not just basketball in there. It's all kinds of sports. And there's a little area for John Riggins. And you forget that he was 6'2".
Back
That's
then.
huge for a running back back in
back
that
then.
day.
Yes.
Yep. Right now, that would be considered a large donkey in the backfield.
Mhm.
6'2" and can run.
I imagine him at the high
pretty
school
tough to
level.
Yeah.
That's why he was Centralia. He ran for Centralia.
Okay.
But yeah, that dude, he is our Bo Jackson up in Nemaha County.
Word is that with his signing bonus with the Jets, he was originally drafted by the Jets. He bought the land that I'm referring to with the signing bonus. Imagine what that's worth now. Because he hunts and fishes.
Oh,
and the
of
whole
course.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Up there, it's very good hunting and fishing land. I'll never forget. It was a JD Drew that was in the restaurant I was working at. I'm like, what's going on over here?
JD Drew is a good old boy too.
And they're like, oh, he's up here to hunt. I'm like, okay, cool. Welcome.
Between your place all the way down to my place, which is Southeast Kansas, you never know who's going to pop in and go either quail hunting, deer hunting.
Never know.
Yep.
Because there's some good spots out there.
Mhm. Born on this day, not dead. Dallas Green. Hint if you need it.
Sure.
Most popular as a coach. Dallas Green.
Let me go baseball.
Yes, former Phillies and Yankees manager. Dallas Green was the manager of the Phillies when they beat the Royals in 1980 in the World Series.
Although yesterday we had a fun game of Mount Rushmore Monday of players who never won an MVP. Would you say Reggie White needs to be on that Mount Rushmore?
He never won an MVP.
Isn't that crazy?
I would have voted for him at least once.
Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm. LT got one, didn't he? Lawrence Taylor? If he did, Reggie White should have.
Just nuts.
All due respect.
That was fun yesterday going down that list. Some wide receivers, certainly. Not getting it. But there's some defensive players there, boy. Woo.
It'd be tough to give a wide receiver MVP not named Jerry Rice and Randy Moss.
I mean, Calvin Johnson had 2,000 yards at 1 year for Detroit.
Yeah, that was a good year.
Pretty sure he set a record.
He didn't do that when they went winless, did he?
I have to go back and look.
Like, I bet he racked up a crap ton of yards for 0 wins that 1 year. All right, that'll do it for us, for me. But stick around because Pat and the Pulse is coming up next.
Bye, Shane.
Goodbye.
Wichita's sports leader. ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. KKGQ Newton.
A Adopt a School is collecting school supplies now through August 31st. Help us support local teachers and classrooms. We are looking for backpacks, Clorox wipes, Kleenex, dry erase markers, glue sticks, binders, and more. Visit adoptaschool.com for a full list. Every donation, big or small, helps students start the school year with the tools they need to learn and succeed. Your donations make a difference for everyone in our community. Items can be dropped off at Rusty Eck Ford or Midway, for helping us make a positive impact this school year.
Furnished by IntelliBrands. Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Get an Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact. Improve your flexibility and balance. Strengthen and tone your legs.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better, and it makes me feel stronger too.
My circulation is moving. I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
It's so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. And for a limited time, get a free upgrade to our deluxe bundle with a faster motor, sport mat, and wireless remote. Call 800-555-1212. That's 800-555-1212. 800-555-1212 now. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
Get ready for the 23rd annual Kansas City Zoo Run, September 19th. The Hornbills are taking flight. Join us for the Run for the Hornbills 4-mile run, or bring the whole flock for the 1-mile family fun run walk. Earn your share of the fun with a colorful Hornbill Finisher's Medal, a stylish Go XT, and free KC Zoo admission on race day. Sign up or volunteer now at kansascityzoorun.org, and don't miss this wildly fun adventure.
The future stars of women's golf are returning to the birthplace of the LPGA for the 5th year in a row. Golfers from the Annika Women's All-Pro Tour are set to head to Wichita for the 2026 Heritage Classic presented by Keystone Solid Surfaces at Rolling Hills Country Club September 8th through the 13th. Interact with the golfers by being a part of the Pro-Am or bring the kids for the free Junior Pro-Am and the Kids Golf Clinic. Mark your calendars for September 8th to the 13th for the Heritage Classic presented by Keystone Solid Surfaces.
The Surge are on the road in Arkansas playing the Royals AA team this week. The team returns home for the stretch run against Corpus Christi on Tuesday, August the 11th. Starts with a 2 for Tuesday, continues with a Wet Nose Wednesday, a Turbo Tubs Thirsty Thursday with discounted drinks. Friday brings post-game fireworks and more. Saturday, Walker Jenkins bobblehead, and Sunday is Kids Day at the ballpark. Join the fun and get your tickets at windsurge.com and listen to the game tonight.
Wichita's sports leader.
7:05 on
ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. KKGQ.
This is Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. A pair of big NFL paydays on this Tuesday. Bijan Robinson, now the highest paid running back in league history. He and the Falcons agreed on a 3-year extension worth up to $75 million, $51 million guaranteed. ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter.
It's a case where you have a breakthrough on the running back front. And because of that now, I think, will provide the framework for a Jahmyr Gibbs deal. And with Bijan getting done, I would expect that Jahmyr Gibbs now also would get done.
Adam Schefter on Unsportsmanlike. Detroit's Gibbs, who has yet to practice at training camp, continues to work on a long-term deal with the Lions. Ravens star receiver Zay Flowers agreed to a 4-year, $140 million extension, $108 million guaranteed. He's now the fourth highest paid receiver in the league.
Jack, nothing
Panthers
too
receiver
crazy, but
Xavier
I'll
Leggett suffered a stinger
sure
on a
to
hard fall during today's
properly
practice.
set
He
them
doesn't
up
have a
for you.
concussion. He will not play in Thursday's preseason opener. Baseball, lefty Tarek Skubal makes his Dodger debut tonight against the Cubs, a couple of days after his blockbuster trade from Detroit.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up on Wednesday, one of the biggest sins in sports was committed. It's not exactly what you think. I'll tell you why this trend needs to end. It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
You're listening to The Pulse with Pat Strathman on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
Small town, big dreams, and a young boy the age of 15. Had a premonition his city would get seen. Now I'm winning, get Sheen in the city of the home.
What's up, Wichita? Happy Tuesday to you all. Hope you're having a terrific day. I know we're having a ton of fun here today following the trade deadline officially passing. Yes, we will reflect on that, even get to some comments from JJ Bacolo with the Kansas City Royals. Have our usual Tuesday guests lined up. Should be a great 2 hours. And we have a couple different giveaways as well. We'll tell you more about that as the show progresses. It is The Pulse on Wichita's sports leader, ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM. In addition to that radio dial, you can always find us online in all sorts of places. If you want to take us to France, out of the country, you can do that with ease. All you have to do is just pull up ESPNWichita.com. There's that listen live button that'll be staring at you when you pull up the website. You can also take us on the go by downloading the ESPN Wichita app. That app has everything that you can possibly hope for. You have the ability to listen live, and as you're listening to the show, there's an option that says call in. You can also find the text line number on there. You have the social media platforms, the links to them. If you want to check out the daily lineup, we update that every single week. Oh, and yeah, you have podcasts on there as well. And you get opportunities to win some really cool things, courtesy of ESPN Wichita. Download the ESPN Wichita app today. If you're at the house or at the office, you have the ability to tell your smart speaker to tune into ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM or KKGQ. And something else that you can do as well, if you want to watch us, feel free to do so. You should head on over to YouTube or Facebook or X. Drop a comment or two. Check out all the different bobbleheads on display as the camera is just zoned in on me as of right now. So feel free to check out all the cool stuff. Even see the nice little fridge behind me as well. Come and check it all out on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. I'm Pat Strathman. In the producer's chair and contributing today is Jack Johnson. He also has a special guest. Does Shane reveal your special guest at all? Do people know what's going on in the room?
He did not know.
Who you got in the room with you right now, Jack?
I have my dog Rosie, and she is currently sitting on my lap about 2 inches from the microphone. So she's not much of a barker, though. But I had some maintenance people at my apartment, and they kind of needed access to everywhere, and she gets skittish. So last minute decision, I said, you're coming to work with me, and she's been rather pleasant in here.
She's doing great. Rosie is officially our mascot for ESPN Wichita now. I'm going to deem it as so. So yeah, if you want to say hi to Rosie, she's been a good girl, just chilling there. I've been very impressed. Truly, it's been very impressive to not hear any dog barking in the background. Kudos to Rosie. She's doing an excellent job. 316-669-4996 is the hotline number. If you wish to hop on the hotline to voice your opinion, you can for sure do that right now if you want. We're going to talk about the Royals. I'm sure that's going to fire up a lot of people. But if you want to talk about the Chiefs at training camp, we can do that. Whatever's on your brain, hit us up. 316-669-4996. 316-666-2285 is the text line number. Already have one texter chiming in. Hi, Rosie, with a dog emoji. Yeah, say hi to Rosie. Absolutely. Feel free to do that. 316-666-2285. I love dogs. They're fantastic. I love me some dogs. Very much miss mine as we continue. Let's see, it would have been the anniversary, 2-year anniversary would have been back in July. So crazy thing. It's been a couple of years without Gordo, but I'm glad that we got Rosie on here though. That's great. Fantastic stuff. 316-666-2285 is the text line number. Feel free to hit us up on there. We have a couple different giveaways for you today. If you want to go to the Kansas State Fair, I got you. We have 4 GA tickets for the Kansas State Fair. We will be giving those away at some point. Also, $20 to Tinker Barbecue with our burnt end of the hour trivia question. The special today, they switched it up. They continue to keep me on my toes. but they switched it up. They tested these garlic sticky rib tips. I have yet to make it over there to try them, but they sound amazing. So we'll give you a chance to go yourself and maybe go on a Tuesday to get those rib tips. Just be ready to text when we tell you to at 316-666-2285. Check out all the cool content on social media. Lots and lots of good stuff on social media. Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Yes, you heard that correctly. TikTok. We have all sorts of social media platforms, and your interaction is always encouraged on all those platforms. So feel free to check it all out on those different platforms there. All right, here's what we got for you today. Coming up in just a little bit, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's brought to you by Seven Clans First Council Casino, Hotel, and Resort. We'll have some fun with Matt Derrick. Cyrus Allen suffering a bone bruise. How big of a deal is that? Xavier Worthy with a shoulder injury. How has Rashee Rice looked? We'll get some early takeaways from training camp with Matt Derrick coming up at 2:25. At the end of the first hour, speaking of the NFL, you already heard a little bit there from SportsCenter, but a couple of big contracts that were announced earlier today. We will mention both of those and give you some quick thoughts on that during the burnt end of the hour trivia question portion. In hour number 2, we'll have a Tuesday with Taylor Eldridge from the Wichita Eagle. Have things finally calmed down for Taylor? Because last Tuesday, we had a lot to unpack with what went down for the basketball tournament on Monday night. We still have some other things that we can react to from that, but he's also had a chance to write a few different articles on different sports at Wichita State, so we'll adjust that coming up in hour number 2. At 3:25, there is a preseason coaches poll out for college football. Who's too high? Who's too low? Kansas State, where did the Wildcats check in at? What about Kansas? Yeah, who am I kidding? Kansas not going to be in the top 25. But we do have to get to that coming up at 3:25. And then at the very end of the show, we will wrap things up with a Take Two Tuesday. Jack Johnson will throw out a topic, and we will pick a couple different things from said topic. There you go. That's what we got for you today. It is August 4th, 2026. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of Wichita Sports Leader. You clearly are the reason why we are Wichita Sports Leader. So thank you so much for joining us here on this Tuesday afternoon. I see good old friend Rod chiming in. At least I think it's Rod. It is. 316-666-2285. In regards to the Royals, I quote the groundskeeper from the movie Major League. I don't think I need to go any further. I can't relay the full word there, Rod. I can't. But for those who have seen Major League, you know exactly what we're talking about. Yesterday on the show, it was shortly after Chris Bubich got traded to the Dodgers. Lane Thomas gets traded to the Braves. And we're trying to think of who else is going to go. Turns out the Kansas City Royals don't send anyone of significance. They stand pat on Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo. They also decided to hang on to John Schreiber, which is also very interesting. Well, J.J. Picollo with the Royals, he did address media members, and he talked about all sorts of things. So I want to play some of these clips and then have some reaction to it as well as things progress. Let's start with the most obvious thing, and that is Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo. Those are two pitchers who are not getting any younger. They're only getting older. And Michael Wacha this year has really been able to drink from the fountain of youth because he's been very, very consistent. Seth Lugo got hit pretty good a couple different times, but you got to look to 2027. You have J.J. Picollo saying, yeah, we're going to go to 2027 and be competitive. That's what we're going to do. Can you really rely on Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo? And here's the other thing, too. We saw reports saying that those two individuals were receiving tons of interest from multiple potential suitors. Well, J.J. Picollo talked about that. Here's J.J. Picollo on Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo getting interest.
I will say this. I think I was told in those
2 minutes
reports,
here.
I think that was
Thank you.
definitely overstated. That there's a lot of interest and we're turning down discussions. That's not how it happens. There were teams that are interested in walking Lugo. And what we just explained to clubs is with the core of players that we have coming back in 26 and that we need starting pitching. We hold those guys in high esteem and we value them quite a bit. But if you have great interest in them, please come to us and talk to us about it. Some clubs chose to have some more discussions. Some clubs chose not to, so I don't know how they value those players. There was obviously a lot of other pitchers that were traded today. I think the big takeaway that I think it's important to understand, you trade a Michael Wacha, you trade a Seth Lugo, you're going to get prospects back, which is not a bad thing, but it also depends on where your team's timeline is. And right now, with the injuries we've suffered this year, we're going to be active trying to build a starting rotation up, given the injuries we have, that guys who won't be available, for the better part of next year. So we got a lot of work to do to try to rebuild the pitching staff. So getting prospects back that are 3 years away, 4 years away, wasn't that exciting to us. But it doesn't mean we weren't going to listen. It just never got to the point where, I would categorize it as great interest. There was some interest, but there wasn't great interest in that. So if we were able to, get a bat, get another arm in return that are already in the major leagues, that's a different discussion. But when we're a team that's not in contention right now, and you're dealing with teams that are in contention, the last thing they want to do is really take off of their major league team. So that makes it a difficult match.
Lots of things to unpack there, but it sounds like the Royals, they did field calls and they said, hey, this is what we're looking for. If you want to continue to go down this path, we sure can. And it seemed like there were a good amount of people who said, you know what, never mind. Your asking price is going to be too high. I do find it interesting, though, that JJ Picollo, when you look at the farm system, and I know he said when you look at the timeline, it's hard to get guys to give us current major leaguers to come over because they're trying to make a run, right? They're not going to give you current major leaguers. Well, the argument I would have there is, well, look at your farm system. What do you have in the farm system that gives you all sorts of hope for just the future of the Royals, not only for 2027, but even past 2027? Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo, are they going to give you what exactly you need in 2027? You just said you still got to rebuild the starting pitching rotation, and you do 110%, but I find it interesting to hear, okay, so they're looking for current major leaguers. That's what they were trying to do, trying to get guys who are currently on Major League Baseball rosters. You can't exactly fault JJ Picollo for trying to get something like that, but I also find it interesting where, well, if they're offering some decent prospects, though, shouldn't you also be like really considering that? But apparently JJ Picollo said, nope, it's got to be major league talent as of right now. And that's largely because of where really the Royals are. In their eyes, they feel like 2027, they can be competitive. I have two more here, Jack. Let's get to the Wacha-Lugo regression first, and then we'll get to the optimism for 2027. Here's JJ Picollo on Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo and regression.
Yeah, you got to try to factor it in, but the truth of the matter is you can't predict it. Yeah, I mean that's
about a minute.
We
Perfect.
have a lot of smart people on our medical staff. We have a lot of smart people on our performance science staff. That certainly comes up, but no matter what you do or think, it doesn't mean you're going to be right. So, if there was a predictive model that was 100% accurate, then of course we'd follow it. But there's not. There's a lot of pitchers that have pitched into their mid to late 30s over the course of their careers that have pitched well. So. That's we just have to weigh the risk, but we did sign Michael Wacha to an extension. We did sign Seth Lugo to an extension. So I think weighing that risk, it showed at that time where we were. We knew what we were committing to them, into the ages 36, 37. So we weighed that risk when we signed them to the extensions.
Okay, so JJ Picollo just backing up. We understand the risk. We understand they're not getting any younger. That's why we gave them a contract extension. We still believe they're going to be useful players for the Kansas City Royals for the future. Lastly, and there's much more audio we can get into, but I would stop it after this because I know Jack is going to have some thoughts and takeaways as well. The optimism for 2027. JJ Piccolo addressed optimism going into the 2027 season with a core of guys that the Royals feel like can get the job done in 2027.
Well, the same belief we had this year, we know who our catchers are. We know who our first baseman is. I think Massey and Nick Lofton have done a great job at second base. We know who our shortstop is, our third baseman is. Yeah, Isaac Collins has come around. Jack Caglione's playing well. Kyle Isbell plays the defense and understands his role as an offensive player. So when you go around the field, we're not rebuilding a team. And then when you look at what Walker and Lugo have done for us and Noah Cameron, they're guys that are really 60% of our rotation, as we said here today. And with the injuries that we've had, the other guys unfortunately won't be available. So we still have to get back to the point where we have depth going into the season. So you try to get it in any way you can. So the bullpen does need work. I mean, that's something for sure that we've got to really try to come together and do the best we can to put a bullpen together. But all that being said, as optimistic as we were going into this year, we hold the same optimism for next year, but we know we have more things. Like last year at this time, this same press conference we're having here, we acquired a lot of pitching and that made us feel good. But then we also were reminded how much you never have enough pitching. The injuries are just can really get you. So, but again, all that being said, it's because we believe in this team. We believe we can compete, that this wasn't a teardown for us. And if you don't have starting pitching, it's a really tough way to try to win. So that's why I would say Walker and Lugo, again, held the value they do to us, and that's just where we stand right now.
Well, JJ Piccolo is sharing his thought process. You know who the catchers are going to be. We know our first baseman. We know what's going on at second with Nick Lofton and Michael Massey. We know about Bobby Witt Jr. We know about our third baseman. We know about our outfielders. JJ Piccolo, very bullish on what they could do in 2027. And I think when you listen to him say that stuff, you can also hear him, too, lean into maybe the excuse of, well, we're banged up. We lost a lot of people, extremely banged up. Going into 2027, they're already going to be at a position where they're going to be banged up already because of Cole Reagans, who's going to be pretty much on the shelf for half of the 2027 season. So they're going to have to go out there and address that. And I get why you hang on the Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo for that particular reason, because you trade both of them, and who you got coming back for 2027? Oh, it's Noah Cameron, and that's really the only real arm that you have, and that sounds absolutely terrifying when you bring that up. But also another argument to be made by a lot of Royals fans. You look at Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, and you look at their success. Heck, throw in Noah Cameron in there. The amount of wins that the Royals have been able to pick up with those guys being on the bump, you're talking about 22 wins and some 40-some losses. I don't have the number in front of me. Sam McDowell did an article earlier today. Sam McDowell wrote about the wins. And, well, if you're going to really rely on those guys, take a look at what the Royals have done with those guys being healthy on the bump. And something else to bring up, too, even before the injuries really started to mount, it's not exactly the Royals got off to a good start. I will say that the injuries, I don't know, you can say derail this season if you want. I would say more so the Royals put themselves in such a bad position right off the bat that the injuries prevented them from actually being able to get out of the hole, to be able to get out of that spot to where they can try to make a push here for the postseason. That's JJ Piccolo reacting on all the decisions that they made or didn't make, for that matter. All the moves that they did and didn't do, reacted on everything trade deadline there for the Kansas City Royals. Definitely a big bullseye on the back of J.J. Picollo, though, going into 2027. I've said that before, said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. They got to take some swings, and boy, they better hope that they connect. And something else to bring up, too, the whole pitching aspect. I know I brought up the wins and losses, so on and so forth, where the Royals didn't necessarily churn out a bunch of wins with those guys being on the hill. I would also make the argument of, well, just take a look back at what took place against the Twins last week when Noah Cameron throws 8 innings of shutout ball and the bullpen coughs up a walk-off grand slam to give the Royals a loss. They, for sure, need to tear down the bullpen and figure out what works and what doesn't. And I think they did that a little bit for the trade deadline. I think they brought on some guys that they can take a look at and try to figure out if they're going to be able to help out the club in 2027. Jack, you heard J.J. Picollo there. Anything in particular jump out to you as you heard them discuss what went down ahead of the trade deadline yesterday?
Well, I guess I'd probably just stay with this optimism they have for 2027. And the only way that they're going to be able to fulfill those dreams and to meet those expectations is with an incredibly aggressive offseason. And there is no, we're going to try our best here. No, you have to do it because that is the only way this way of logic or this path of the 2026 trade deadline makes sense. You held on to all these guys. You believe in this core. You don't think you need to upgrade the offense that much. Okay, well then I better see a ton of money and a ton of resources put into the pitching staff. You want to reassemble a bullpen? Go out there and acquire 2 to 3 big-name guys that can really help the back end of your bullpen. You want to make the rotation a formidable rotation again, a formidable rotation again? Go out there and acquire a number 1 or number 2. That means that J.J. Picollo has to be on the same page as John Sherman. Otherwise, this is going to cost them their job. There's no way around it. You're going to back it up that you are confident in this team's ability to make the postseason, to win the division. Your optimism has not wavered from 2026 to 2027. Well, then you better do a lot of work when it comes to this pitching staff because clearly it's not a group right now that can compete. But if you spend the money, you go out there and make yourself a top 10 team when it comes to payroll, then we can have that conversation. But I think it's exciting that you might have an opportunity to have a really noisy offseason. On the flip side to that, this will, one way or another, be the offseason that puts a stamp on the front office with J.J. Picollo and John Sherman. You want to make a difference? You want to put your job on the line? That's what it's going to take here because no team goes from 67 and 95 to a 1972 team without spending a bunch of money, without trading for a couple of high-level players, high-caliber players, and that needs to be the way of thinking here. These last 49 games don't mean much in the win-loss column, but they can matter in sort of evaluating what you might have in the bullpen, what you still need to get. But no matter what happens in these final 49 games, the minute that offseason starts, that clock starts going, you need to be reaching out to as many big-name players as you can and throwing your weight around a little bit.
I'm right there with you. 316-666-2285. I saw this from Justin. What's up, Justin? Hope you're well. Hope you're ready to rock and roll for this upcoming athletic year. Good, sir. JJ is starting to become Dayton Moore, and I wish he wouldn't. The decisions they make feel safe, but actually very cowardly. Sorry, but taking chances gets you farther than being safe. Appreciate the comment there, Justin. Right now, we got to run. When we return, what's going on up in St. Joe, Missouri? We will get a first-hand look with our friend Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. That's straight ahead on the Pulse.
You're tuned into the Pulse on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
ImageNet Consulting is excited to bring 70 years of business technology experience to Wichita. Whether you need a managed IT partner, including cybersecurity solutions, to protect your data, a manufacturer-agnostic secure print solution, document digitization, or audiovisual upgrades, ImageNet has proven solutions built for your business. Welcome us to the community at ImageNet.com. That's ImageNet.com.
Tricked out, check us out, Truck Stuff.
You've probably already heard that Truck Stuff is the place to go to lift, level, or lower your truck. And of course, we have an enormous in-stock selection of bed covers, running boards, and floor mats. But did you know that we do wheels and tires, gear swaps, and spray and bed liners? Stop by today to deck out your ride at Truck Stuff at the corner of Central and Washington.
Tricked out, check us out, Truck Stuff.
Every day is a great day at the Fairfield Inn & Suites, Wichita downtown. With over 1,000 Fairfields worldwide, they rank in the top 20% for cleanliness and service. Located at Kellogg and Main in the Waterwalk District, they are centrally located. Providing exceptional service is their thing. And make sure to enjoy a hot breakfast buffet with every stay. Let them be your home away from home. Fairfield Inn & Suites, Wichita downtown by Marriott. Wichita's hidden gem.
All right, team, heads up. Whether you're stepping up to the plate, hitting the court, or just taking on your day, confidence matters. And nothing boosts your confidence like a strong, healthy smile. At Cambridge Family Dentistry, they deliver all-star care for the whole family, from routine cleanings to cosmetic treatments, helping you look and feel your best every single day. Don't sit on the sidelines with your smile. Cambridge Family Dentistry, your hometown team for a winning smile. Schedule your appointment today at CambridgeFamilyDentist.com. Hey, ESPN Wichita listeners, let's officially kick off August at Twin Peaks West. Meet us at the Lodge at Ridge and Taft starting at noon this Friday for some eats, drinks, and scenic views. We're back at it with Shane Dennis Show and The Pulse with Pat Strathman, rolling from noon to 4 this Friday. So come enjoy their scratch-made food, 29-degree drafts, and scenic views this Friday. ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM, Twin Peaks West, Ridge and Taft. Let's celebrate the summer. We'll see you there.
What's going on up in St. Joe, Missouri? Home to the training camp for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's find out with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's brought to you by Seven Clans First Council Casino, Hotel, and Resort. Hello, Matt. Training camp is alive and well. And, of course, in typical fashion, all sorts of people up in arms about certain position battles at this stage, already claiming that there are some people deserving a starting job over others based on 2 videos that they have seen on social media. So I'm sure it's typically, it's just the way it goes, man. Let's dive right in. First and foremost, Cyrus Allen. He ends up getting banged up. Turns out it's just a bone bruise, so nothing serious. But everyone thought that it was a season ender, and boy, it was malpractice by the Chiefs to have him be there in the gunner position with special teams taking place on Saturday. Turns out he's fine, but I think we see just the severity of the wide receiver group when you eliminate Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, as well as Cyrus Allen. It leaves you with Andrew Armstrong being in the starting group. So your takeaway from Cyrus Allen being banged up, and then I'll ask a follow-up here in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Pat, hey, you could, on the bright side, it's training camp. So, hey, everybody's, being a little cautionary here. And it's also what happens to any team when your top 3 wide receivers aren't practicing. Rashee Rice is at a full go in the same practice. Xavier Worthy dinged up his shoulder. So, yeah, I mean, Cyrus Allen is just another piece of the puzzle. So, you get your sixth best receiver in there, and everybody's going to freak out. And the Chiefs have been down this road before, Pat, with varying degrees of success. So I get why people are nervous. I don't think you can be nervous about a 5th-round draft pick, playing special teams. That's pretty much going to happen. But that's just bad luck. But it's the nature of training camp, Pat. It's the time of the year for everybody to freak out.
Of course. And you can already see some training camp darlings that we're seeing at this stage after just a couple of days of practice. But I do want to ask just an overall performance question about the wide receiver group. Yes, Rashee Rice still rehabbing and trying to come back because of his dumb decision. Well, not necessarily that, but more so, hey, I got to clean this knee up, even though it should have been done a long time ago. But whatever, I digress. You also have Xavier Worthy being banged up with a shoulder injury, considering his history and certainly how banged up he's been before. So overall, how would you grade the wide receiver group just a couple days into padded practice? Because based on what I've read, it's not exactly the best of results so far, but it's also still early in training camp to where I'm not going to freak out at this point.
Yeah, I mean, when you phrase the question like that, though, and you'd say, "How does this receiver group look so far?" I mean, I would give a fairly decent grade. I mean, I don't know if I can go quite B plus or anything, but I think I'd give them a solid B minus right now. And hey, considering that once again you haven't, outside of 7-on-7, you haven't seen Rashee Rice yet, and you just had Xavier Worthy and Cyrus Allen go down a couple of days ago and not return from injuries. Tyquan Thornton, he looks a lot like Tyquan Thornton. I mean, and it's not a bad thing. I think a guy like that absolutely has a place on your team. And you look at his numbers last year, and he averaged 23 yards a catch. I mean, that's a guy that can absolutely play for you. I know Tyquan wants to be a more versatile receiver. That's the only drawback, is that I haven't seen that part of the game develop, but he's still a deep ball threat at any time. It's the other, maybe 7 or 8, route trees, parts of the route tree that he probably needs to work on and wants to be better at. But hey, the 9 ball, he's still got that. Some of these other guys, I mean, you're talking about an Andrew Armstrong, Jalen Royals. I mean, if Jalen Royals is your 4th receiver and Andrew Armstrong is your 5th or 6th, I mean, that's the appropriate spot for these guys. It's just that, this team is probably not going to be a team that's going to be able to weather multiple injuries for sure. And that's been with this receiver group the last couple of years. They're okay. They're fine when they're healthy. Things get a little sketchy when one guy goes down, but you get 2 guys that goes down, they just don't have that depth. Now, a lot of teams in the NFL are like that. Not every team, but a lot of teams. So honestly, Pat, the biggest struggle for this team is just going to find a way to keep these guys on the field.
And we know that's a challenge. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com joining us here on the Pulse, brought to you by Seven Clans First Council Casino Hotel and Resort. All right, well, sticking on the offensive side of the ball, I'm not going to ask you about Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball at the back of the helmet of Hunter Norzad. We're not going to do that because we know that he just had popcorn before he threw the football. So it makes sense to why that happened.
Wide receiver fell down and he tried to stop throwing it and couldn't.
Just let me just get in a longest yard movie quote, okay? Just let me throw in a pop culture reference, dang it. Come on.
I'm sorry, Pat. I'm the worst. I ruin everybody's good times.
Yeah. not I mean, you ruined David Lesky's good times. That's for darn sure. Not mine, though. You can never do that. So you have the other parts of the offense, rushing wise. You're looking at Kenneth Walker III. You have Emmett Johnson, who's out there as well. You also have some offensive line work that's being done. I look at the right tackle, and I want to ask the question of, is that right tackle spot turning into a battle to watch over the course of the next couple of weeks? Or once again, are we just overreacting? I'm just saying, just want to ask the question. It just seems like you look at right tackle, you have Jalen Moore, you have Asa Poole. Who's going to end up winning that battle? Is that a battle that's actually forming at this point?
I mean, it appears to be a battle right now because, you've got Jalen Moore and Khalil Benson, the wonderkin from Indiana that snuck past everybody by playing right tackle on the national champions and somehow was a tryout player for this team in their rookie mini camp. And right now he's taking the majority of snaps at right tackle 1. Usually these position battles, especially with the Chiefs, I mean, for starters, they don't go down to the wire. I mean, usually they decide what option they're going to go with pretty quick. I don't know if this is still just taking a long, long look at Khalil Benson because they like what they've seen and they just want to see if he can handle it. But you get to the first preseason game and see how it goes. That's when it could be over. I mean, if Khalil Benson goes out there and they let him play in week 1 and he dominates, I mean, it may be his job. We're going to see, but right now it looks like a 2-horse race between Benson and Jalen Moore. Moore is obviously, I think, a lot better suited to be your swing tackle. They like him in that role. Pole's still there, not going anywhere, and I think it's a reasonable chance that all those guys end up on the roster. Just what order are they going to be, and what's their role going to be? But Benson's been interesting. I mean, this is for real, Pat. I mean, this isn't just like he won a contest or something, and Andy Reid's trying to pull some mind games here and motivate everybody by putting the rookie in there and seeing if that brings everybody's play up. He doesn't play mind games. So this is real, and once the pads have come on, he's looked decent.
Okay, good to know. Rushing attack wise, what has been the noticeable difference with Kenneth Walker III and maybe Emmett Johnson? Can you actually see a little bit of a difference? Here we are in just a couple of days of padded practice, but I do want to ask about the rushing attack and how that's developing.
Yeah, and I think this is actually going to be something that should make you feel encouraged, Pat. But honestly, I mean, right now the Chiefs, as they're going through practices, and there's a way to go. Haven't got to the preseason games yet. A lot can still change, but they're going through right now where Emmett Johnson is like fourth on the depth chart. He's got Amari DiMercado and Brashard Smith ahead of him.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock against Emmett Johnson. It's just that they like those two guys too, and you got to climb over some guys. And Kenneth Walker is great as well. There's a couple of things that stands out, but really to me the biggest thing about that entire backfield is their mobility. I mean, having watched this team the last few years, where it's a straight ahead run game. You've got running backs that for the most part run in a straight line, and they run until they hit something and then they fall down. These guys don't do that, especially Kenneth Walker. His ability to bust back and cut back and everything, I think, is really kind of underrated. We talk about his patience and everything, but even in the Super Bowl, he showed that incredible ability, to change directions. He can do that. I mean, today he was taking a run to the left side, absolutely, totally broke down. Nothing was there. Cut it back to the right side. The only thing that was a bad thing about that is Patrick Mahomes got himself kind of caught up in the wash because he was still on the right side. And normally, Pat, even in training camp, would feign a block of some sort. And today, working with that knee, he was just trying to get out of everybody's way. I mean, it looked like some of those guys at the running of the bulls, Pat. I mean, he was just trying not to get gored. But these running backs, they got that ability. They got the ability to juke. They can make guys miss at the second level. They can kick. They can cut back. They can kick things outside. They can do things that aren't in a straight line, Pat. And that's, I mean, I think I will be stunned if people don't look at this run game this year and be like, oh my goodness, this is night and day compared to the last couple of years.
Going over to the defensive side, how much different does the secondary look with Chamari Connor playing safety instead of being inside?
Yeah, I think it's a really good spot for Chamari. I mean, he prides himself on his versatility, so being able to play multiple roles and going into the slot. And you can see, I think, where Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt want to end up. I think they would love to be at a spot where maybe Chamari Connor and L'Jarius Sneed can play off of each other. Maybe they're a little bit of Tyrann Mathieu and Kendall Fuller from 2019, where, you can put those guys on two sides of the defense and really give yourself maximum versatility. They've got a ton of options in the slot. Chris Roland-Wallace has been kind of the main guy so far, but, they've got Kader Kohu. Sneed can obviously play the slot. There's other options there too. Chamari has done it. Kevin Knowles is, I think, more of a slot guy than an outside guy. They drafted Jaden Kennedy. That's kind of his bread and butter. So they got a ton of options there, which they haven't really had in the past. But again, Monsieur Delane's not fully healthy yet. They've had some guys named up. Christian Fulton was out today. So, you're really getting to a point now, especially when you're talking about being in pads and being in, full team periods. They haven't had it, what they might consider a starting lineup of their corners. It's the same way at corner that it is kind of at wide receiver right now. I mean, today your trio of your top three corners was Noel Williams, L'Jarius Sneed, and Melvin Smith. I mean, that's not what you're expecting to be your starters in week one.
Man, just all sorts of optimism when you throw out Andrew Armstrong starting on offense for wide receiver. Then you throw out Melvin Smith, who starts on defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like, oh yeah, this is also what training camp's all about too. A bunch of injuries that we are seeing at this stage. I do have to ask though, is the head turner of training camp so far Peter Woods? Because it sure seems like it for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's becoming the show right now. I mean, everybody always looks forward to the offensive line, defensive lines. Once the pads come on, those guys going at each other. But now it's must see TV, Pat. That's the one to watch because Peter Woods, there's no doubt. I mean, he is electric, and whether it's the one-on-ones or even just in the full team periods. I mean, it's easy to see why the Chiefs view this guy as the next Chris Jones. And, and that's a lot to put on a kid. Doesn't mean he's going to be as good as Chris Jones. I mean, there's always 1% scenario where he's better than Chris Jones. But even being in that ballpark is going to be huge. And yeah, I mean, this guy, they've got him doing, Pat, what he really did, in 2024 for Clemson. Last year at Clemson, they had him kind of playing out of position a little bit. He had to kind of do a little bit of everything, and he was playing more, nose tackle than he really was as an interior pass rusher and being able to line up where he's more comfortable. They've got him doing that. And when he's doing that, Pat, he's unstoppable. I mean, yesterday he had a rep against Trey Smith where, dude, I mean, not only did he just, drive Trey Smith back and Trey was like pounding his hands in frustration. He doubled down on it, Pat, by giving him the head tap on the side of the helmet afterwards, like saying, hey, it's okay, bud. You'll get me next time. I mean, that's a veteran swagger kind of move. And I mean, he's got it. But the thing is he backs it up. He is good. And, I've heard from some of the players that, are going up against him. I mean, that they've been just really impressed about how good he's been.
Edge rushing group. What does that unit look like so far, just a couple of days in with fully padded practices?
Yeah, again, if this group can stay healthy, Pat, they're going to be fine. But again, the injuries have bitten. They don't have Ashton Gelati right now, who strained his hamstring. And, they don't really have what they want right now to replace like Ashton Gelati or George Karlaftis. They're playing with either one of them. It's really not at a point where they're happy with just one replacement there. The options and like Felix Anadike-Uzomah and R. Mason Thomas, they both have some limited abilities right now, liabilities too, I guess I could say. R. Mason Thomas, he's not strength-wise where the Chiefs need him to be. He's not there where he wants to be. I mean, he remember he skipped the bench press during his pro day and the combine, and usually that's a sign of a guy who's probably skips the drill because he knows he's not going to put up a great number, and he's been more of a speed guy than a power guy. So his weakness right now is being somebody who can set the edge in the run game. If he can improve upon that, and maybe he ends up being a starter. Right now, Felix is better at that, so. You feel like right now what they're showing is a rotation between those two guys. Although I tell you what, Pat, their pass rush package, you get the passing situations in third downs, and you're talking about Chris Jones, Peter Woods, maybe another edge rusher. I mean, they've had Ashton Gelati in there too, George Karlaftis. You got those four guys going at you. Yeah, that's going to be a problem for some teams.
Does Eric Bieniemy return to the Chiefs this year? Heard Andy Reid talk about that earlier today, or maybe not Andy Reid, maybe it was another assistant coach, but figured I'd ask you that question as we sit here and wonder what's next for Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, I mean, everybody in St. Joe is saying the exact same thing and the right thing, which is that EB is where he needs to be. He needs to be with his family and his wife. Obviously, the good news is that Mia Bieniemy has been recovering and is improving. That's the biggest thing. And the Chiefs are all like, hey, he needs to be where he needs to be. There's no timetable on him returning, but Joe Blameyer said today that he's talked to him a lot more on the phone and Zoom this week than he did last week, and he's kind kind of getting a little bit more involved in football. You can feel, hey, this thing's kind of calmed down there and where they are in Virginia, and things are getting a little bit more settled. That could happen. And, you knew EB. I mean, you just know how much football is his life, that he's going to be watching film online. I mean, they're going to be downloading everything to his iPad so that he can keep tabs. But not being there, it's, hey, they missed something. So I think he's going to be back sooner than later. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if he missed most of training camp, but I don't think that would bother the Chiefs. I mean, again, they want him to be where he needs to be for the foreseeable future. They can operate without EB. I just think EB makes them a lot better. So they want him back. I mean, they'd love to have him back, but not at the expense of leaving his family when they need him too.
All right, Matt, appreciate your time. Can't wait to overreact over some more videos in the next couple of days, and we'll react to them coming up on Tuesday. Appreciate you, man.
That sounds great. That was overact as best we can.
Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, brought to you by Seven Clans First Council Casino Hotel and Resort. Let us take a break. When we return, Burt, end of the hour trivia question brought to you by Tinker. Your chance to win some free Q plus some big-time contracts in the NFL announced earlier today. That's coming your way next on The Pulse.
The heartbeat of Wichita sports fans. The Pulse on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
Get ready for takeoff. Your taste buds are in for a ride at Tinker Barbecue. From fall-off-the-bone ribs to juicy brisket and house-made sides, they're serving food with big flavor and slow-smoked to perfection. And they have mouth-watering specials like bone-in pork chops on Tuesday, wings on Wednesday, Chicago-style hot beef sandwiches on Thursday, meatloaf on Friday, and half-pound smoked cheeseburgers on Saturday. Find them at 620 West Maple, open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 until 7.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code MOVE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code MOVE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MOVE.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from IQ Bar. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at eatiqbar.com/policy/terms of service.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 9 plant protein bars, 8 hydration mixes, and 4 mushroom coffee sticks. And now you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping when you text RADIO to 64,000. Text RADIO to 64,000 to get your 20% off. That's RADIO to 64,000.
The future stars of women's golf are returning to the birthplace of the LPGA for the 5th year in a row. Golfers from the Annika Women's All-Pro Tour are set to head to Wichita for the 2026 Heritage Classic presented by Keystone Solid Surfaces at Rolling Hills Country Club September 8th through the 13th. Interact with the golfers by being a part of the Pro-Am or bring the kids for the free Junior Pro-Am and the Kids Golf Clinic. Mark your calendars for September 8th to the 13th for the Heritage Classic presented by Keystone Solid Surfaces.
Get ready for a new NFL season with the best coverage of Chiefs training camp on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
He looks pretty good. Obviously, Pat's one of the hardest workers on the team. He's worked so hard to get back from that knee, and obviously he's a leader on the team, and he wants to show guys that he's all in, so we're all in with him.
From training camp to the Super Bowl, Wichita's best Chiefs coverage. ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
Who wants some free barbecue? Now is the time to earn it. Burt, end of the hour trivia question presented to you by our friends at Tinker Barbecue. Always changing the specials. They always change the specials. And the reason being is because they know that you want to try all sorts of goodness that they have over that way. Today, they have new garlic sticky rib tips. That is their special for today. But they, of course, they have all the traditional items that you're looking for at Tinker Barbecue. The fall off the bone ribs, the juicy pulled pork, and the brisket, the pork belly burnt ends. Mwah. They also have awesome sides as well. Get the cheesy potatoes, get the corn casserole. They do everything, and they serve up food with big flavor. 620 West Maple, just around the corner from us, open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 until 7 o'clock. And they have some exciting things that they're going to announce here before too long. I've been talking with them. They're growing, and I can't wait to reveal that news once we get to that point. But right now, let's give you a chance to win some free barbecue. Text your guesses to 316-666-2285. Text your guesses to 316-666-2285. Jack Johnson with today's Burnt End of the Hour trivia question. Go ahead, Jack, as well as Rosie.
Who is the last NFL team to have two 1,000-yard rushers in the same season?
The last NFL team to have 2,000-yard rushers in the same season.
1,000
Two 1,000 yard rushers in the same season. 316-666-2285. 316-666-2285. Who is the last team to have two 1,000-yard rushers in the same season? I think I got this one on lockdown because it hasn't been that long. Really, at least in my eyes, it doesn't seem like that long ago. But to some, it might seem like forever ago. But to me, it wasn't that long ago. Who was the last NFL team to have two 1,000-yard rushers in the same season? 316-666-2285. Well, speaking of rushers, Bijan Robinson ended up getting a big payday the day from the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons and Bijan Robinson reached agreement on a 3-year extension worth up to $75 million that will make him the highest paid running back in NFL history. He will receive $51 million guaranteed. With the new deal, Robinson will now make $22.25 million per year, surpassing the Eagles' Saquon Barkley, $20.6 million, as the highest paid running back year over year in the league. I don't really envision it lasting all that long because I'm sure Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get himself a hefty pay raise. These are tailbacks who are holding out for good reason because they feel like their value is not going to get any higher because you look at the NFL, typically QBs, wide receivers, they're going to get a boatload of money. But in terms of running backs, there's only a select few who can get this type of money. Bijan Robinson, definitely one of those individuals. And I bet you Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to top it here before too long because he is also holding out while he waits for a contract extension, much like Bijan Robinson did, waiting for a new contract. Speaking of a new contract, I brought up wide receivers get paid boatloads of money. Well, Zay Flowers, he is now the highest paid wide receiver in team history for the Baltimore Ravens. He agreed on a 4-year extension with the Ravens. The deal for the two-time Pro Bowler is for $140 million, and it includes $108 million guaranteed, both of which are records for a Ravens wide receiver. The average of $35 million per season ties him with Justin Jefferson with Minnesota as the NFL's 4th highest paid wide receiver. Flowers becomes the 2nd highest paid player on the Ravens behind, you guessed it, quarterback Lamar Jackson. Zay Flowers turns 26 next month. He's a trusted target. 1,211 yards receiving last year, accounted for 37% of the Ravens' total receiving yards. It's quite a bit. Zay Flowers gets paid. A couple of big contracts in the NFL. Hour number 2. Features Tuesday with Taylor Eldridge from the Wichita Eagle. College football preseason coaches poll is out. Who's high, who's low? Take Two Tuesday and Kansas State Fair tickets. All that coming up in hour number 2 on The Pulse.
Wichita's sports leader. ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. KKGQ Newton.
The Surge are on the road in Arkansas playing the Royals AA team this week. The team returns home for the stretch run against Corpus Christi on Tuesday, August the 11th. Starts with a 2 for Tuesday, continues with a Wet Nose Wednesday, a Turbo Tubs Thirsty Thursday with discounted drinks. Friday brings post-game fireworks and more. Saturday, Walker Jenkins bobblehead, and Sunday is Kids Day at the ballpark. Join the fun and get your tickets at windsurge.com and listen to the game tonight from Northwest Arkansas at 7:05 on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
The U.S. Treasury quietly released its official financial report for 2025. It appears by its own numbers, the U.S. government seems insolvent. It's reported that the Treasury shows about $6 trillion in assets and over $47 trillion in liabilities. Add it all up, and it looks like the U.S. owes more than $130 trillion it doesn't have. If that were a family, they'd earn $52,000 a year, spend $73,000, and already be more than $1 million underwater. Any accountant would call that insolvent. So how does the government fix this? It can print money, which erodes your purchasing power. It can raise taxes, or it can cut benefits. And none of those can help to protect you. That's why many people who have something to lose move part of their savings into physical gold and silver, assets that can't be printed, defaulted on, or voted away. Call Monetary Gold at 877-NOW-GOLD for their complimentary gold and silver guide and a no-pressure conversation. That's 877-NOW-GOLD. Call Monetary Gold now at 877-NOW-GOLD. Do it before the next headline, not after. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Hi, I'm Ben Farha, owner of Farha Roofing. Kansas weather can change in an instant. Hail, wind, and severe storms can leave your home vulnerable when you least expect it. That's where Farha Roofing comes in. Our trusted team provides professional inspections, quality workmanship, and guidance through the insurance claims process. If you think your roof may have been damaged, don't wait. Protect your biggest investment with the company Kansas Homeowners Trust. Schedule your free inspection today with Farha Roofing. Farha Roofing, we rise above the rest.
Hey, ESPN Wichita listeners, let's officially kick off August at Twin Peaks West. Meet us at the Lodge at Ridge and Taft starting at noon this Friday for some eats, drinks, and scenic views. We're back at it with Shane Dennis Show and The Pulse with Pat Strathman, rolling from noon to 4 this Friday. So come enjoy their scratch-made food, 29-degree drafts, and scenic views this Friday. With ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM, Twin Peaks West, Ridge and Taft. Let's celebrate the summer. We'll see you there.
Taylor Eldridge on the Pulse is presented by Crosswinds Casino. Beat the heat with cool prizes at Crosswinds Casino. Join them Thursdays in August as winners are drawn every 30 minutes from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. to score up to $500 wins play. Visit crosswindscasino.com for more.
I got Taylor.
Wichita's sports leader.
Perfect, because he just broke some news on social media. So I can't wait to have him. Oh, man.
ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. KKGQ. This is Sports Center.
That cracks me up.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Dodgers
3 minutes
returning
ago,
to
he
a
just
two-time
released
AL
the
Cy
article.
Young Award winner as they look to snap a season-high tying 4-game losing streak tonight. Newly acquired
Some
lefty
things just
Tarek
get to
Skubal
fall
will
right
make
into your
his
lap.
Los Angeles
Oh, yeah, I
debut
mean, it's so
against the
perfect.
Cubs. And Tarek Skubal will be Tarek Skubal, believes ESPN baseball analyst Eduardo Perez.
You're going to see a fastball that's going to be around 96 to 98 miles per hour. He could touch 100, but he's going to stay within himself. He has to stay within himself because the fastball alone will not work. You'll have to throw that changeup. It gets a 50% whiff in and out of the zone. And also that curveball. Hitters are only hitting 105 against the curveball.
The Falcons making Bijan Robinson the highest paid running back in NFL history. Sides agreed on a 3-year extension worth up to $75 million, $51 million guaranteed. Ravens and receiver Zay Flowers agreed on a 4-year extension, $140 million, $108 million guaranteed. Cleveland's WNBA team, set to debut in 2028, introduced its name, the Sirens, for Lake Erie's Power and Paul.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up on Wednesday, one of the biggest sins in sports was committed. It's not exactly what you think. I'll tell you why this trend needs to end. It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
It's just a public service announcement sponsored by Just Blaze and the good folks at Rockefeller Records.
Fellow Americans, it is with the utmost pride and sincerity that I present this recording as a living testament and recollection of history in the making during our generation.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho, H to the O-V. I used to move snow.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 has arrived. Glad to have you here. It is The Pulse on Wichita's sports leader, ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM. Streaming as well. Check us out online at espnwichita.com. Streaming on the ESPN Wichita app. If you have a smart speaker, that gets the job done. Just tell it to tune into ESPN Wichita, 92.3 FM. And if you want to watch us, you can check out all the lovely bobbleheads right in front of me by heading on over to YouTube, X, and Facebook, as we are video streaming on all those platforms. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Pat Strathman. Producing and contributing to the show is Jack Johnson. 316-669-4996 is the hotline number. You can't use it right now because we have a guest who's on the line. So sorry, you're going to have to wait until after the fact. 316-666-2285. You can fire off text messages left and right on the text line. We will see them. We'll respond to them. We'll also relay your thoughts to everyone out there who is listening to ESPN Wichita. And plus, you can win some cool things on the text line, including 4 GA tickets to go to the Kansas State Fair. We'll give you that opportunity at some point here in hour number 2. So interact on the text line number or win some cool things on the text line number as well. Check out all of our cool content on social media. Lots and lots of good stuff on Instagram, YouTube, X, Facebook. Also have TikTok now, and we all know TikTok is a big thing as well. So follow along with Wichita Sports Leader on all those different platforms. Coming up here in a little bit, preseason coaches poll is out for college football. Is Kansas State mentioned? Are the Wildcats in the top 25? We'll get to that here shortly. At the very end of the show, we'll do a Take Two Tuesday. Right now, though, we get a little breaking news here with this Tuesday with Taylor Eldridge segment from the Wichita Eagle. Taylor, glad to have you back. And apparently you were sitting on this, waiting until you would hop on the show to obviously break the news to everyone. It's almost like you last week. It's like, you know what? There was a lot of excitement. We had to recap what went down, the brawl, and so on and so forth. So I got to find a way to top it, and you top it with some exciting news for Wichita State men's basketball as the Shockers are headed to Lake Tahoe for an early Quad 1 game against a projected top 25 team in USC. Pretty big non-con game added to the schedule for Wichita State. Break it down for us. Although I cannot hear Taylor Eldridge if he's speaking.
We're looking for a power conference team to play them, closer to Wichita, maybe KC, maybe Oklahoma City, even Dallas, Fort Worth, somewhere down there. And no one wanted to play them around here. So, Paul Mills kind of broadened his search, and they're headed west. And, give Paul Mills a lot of credit for getting creative and looking outside the box and, getting this team, we talked about it so many times, this team, they feel like can make an NCAA tournament run. The biggest thing, though, is you got to get a schedule for them to give them a chance at that at large. So there's not so much pressure heading into March, to win that conference tournament championship. So, yeah, kudos to Mills and the staff for getting that done. It was confirmed to me. Rocco Miller was the first one to report that. And that was kind of what I was hearing, and he was the one that had the date on it. So I heard it was, early November, and that's ends up what it turned out to be, November 8th. That's probably, obviously their schedule's not done yet, but that's probably going to be their second, at most third game of the season. So this is going to be very early on, And, I like that for WSU because, they're a group that has the chemistry that's been playing together, and they have that solid foundation where USC, man, they have so much talent, but, a lot of it is new. They haven't played together before, or a ton of minutes together. So that's a great upside swing for Paul Mills because, you go there, even if they lose, it's not going to ding them. It's not going to be, a damaging loss by any means. And then if you go out there and win that game, you got a quad one win under your belt, the first week of the season. So really high upside matchup for Wichita State. And I expect this should be finalized. I think they're going to announce it sometime this month. But yeah, a little sneak peek of, what will be, the marquee game for WSU this non-conference season.
And then the other aspect is, too, neutral court, right? Neutral site. That's a nice thing. I know it'd be more pro-California, but neutral, being in Lake Tahoe, that's got to be a nice thing, no?
Yeah, that's a good, you could make the argument, if you're going to go out west, just go out to USC, get the true road game because, early in November, obviously USC fans, they're going to be locked into football. Not a lot. You see that a lot of in high major college basketball. Those games are pretty sparsely attended in November, December, when people's minds are still on football season. So, I'm not, involved in like the behind the scenes. Like, I don't know, like if that was a possibility, but
sure.
If this opportunity comes up, you have to take it if you're in WSU's shoes. And like I said, a lot of credit for Mills to go out there and make this happen because this is exactly the kind of game that this team needed. And like I said, it's kind of a win-win for WSU. You go out there, you get, a great experience first week of the season. If you lose, no big deal. If you win, man, you're sitting pretty now. So, they're putting together, it's taken a while. Usually the non-conference is out by now, but I think it's worth the wait because, I think they are really working hard to put WSU in the best situation to build an at-large case. And today was a massive breakthrough for that. So, this is a big deal for Wichita State.
Could there be another marquee game that's going to be added to the schedule? Or are you just going to sit back and go, you know what, just back off that. Let's just relish in the fact that this is a quad one game that's going to be on the schedule in early November. But could there be more, I suppose, for Wichita State?
I would say there's probably, a chance for 1 to 2 more. You look at the schedule, what's out there right now, they only have 3 bye games. So, that's probably going to get up to 6 is usually kind of the par for the course. Maybe they take 7. That would only leave, 2 games left. That would be kind of those swing games. Maybe you add another, a neutral site game. That seems to be where WSU is making their hay. Maybe they do go on the road again. They're going to Chicago to play La Jolla. So, that's not looking to be like as big of a deal as they probably hoped it would be. Chicago is really falling on tough times. I don't even know if that's going to be a quad 2 game. So that's a little bit disappointing. So maybe they do go on the road, but yeah, New Mexico, that's a big deal. That's a top 50 team in the country. Boise State, that's a very quality program. K-State. So, they've put together already, this is the best non-conference they've had for a while in terms of just, being able to be competitive in all these games. I know they had KU on the schedule a couple years ago, but it was pretty clear that, WSU was not in a position to compete against a schedule like that at that time. But now, they have the team, they're putting together the schedule. And this is pretty optimistic right now, just looking at it. If they can add maybe one more swing at a quad 2, one more neutral site game, I think you call it good and fill out the rest of the schedule with, pad it with those quad 4 wins. And, if you take care of business, you beat those teams by 25 or 30, you can kind of pad your net rankings that way too. So, I think the schedule has a little bit for everyone. They have the quality teams at home, New Mexico, Boise State. They're playing the 2 KC neutral site games, K-State, Drake. And now you got a big neutral site game early in the season. And, Lake Tahoe, that'd be a fun trip to go to
100%.
as well if you're a fan. So.
Yeah, 100%. Never been to Lake Tahoe, but I know plenty of people who go out that way, and I know they very much enjoy it. Tuesday with Taylor Eldridge here on the Pulse on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. So we start off with the breaking news, but certainly significant news a couple days ago with Paul Mills being able to agree to a 3-year contract extension after leading the Shockers to a 24-win campaign and back-to-back postseason appearances. This shouldn't surprise anyone when you end up increasing the win total every year. You're on the doorstep of going to the national tournament, just one win away from being able to do that, following in the American Conference Championship. You bring back the amount of guys that he was able to bring back. You practically go 4 for 4 for on-campus visits for the transfers you want to bring in to be impact players for this team. This is really a no-brainer for Wichita State to be able to throw on 3 more years for Paul Mills on a contract that's going to run for a little while longer. So your reaction to Wichita State adding 3 more years to the contract of Paul Mills, who has done nothing but increase the win total every year he's been here at Wichita State?
Yeah, I can understand why there's a little bit of pushback, from parts of the fan base, just because, they haven't truly contended for an at-large bid yet in the NCAA tournament. You mentioned, they made it to the conference tournament championship game, but still, they're, well off of the bubble. And, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I see both sides where, they've increased the win total every single year. Like you said, he did maybe the hardest thing in college basketball is to retain a core like he did, to bring back 10 guys and pretty much everyone that they wanted. So that's reason for optimism. But, I do kind of understand, some of the fans are like, well, let's see it first. Let's see them take that breakthrough before we give out that extension. But, if you're in Kevin Saul's position, obviously you believe in Paul Mills, you hired him. Everything is trending in the right direction. It seems like WSU is certainly poised for that breakthrough year. So, why not show some, faith in your guy, the guy that you hired, and, give him some, security. I know that's not as big of a deal now as it was in college basketball, a couple of years ago where, you had to have that contract extension to do recruiting. Now that it's year to year, that's kind of changed a little bit, but still, some security for him, some security for WSU. If this year goes really well, they blow up and make a deep run in the postseason. Who knows? Maybe he gets poached and, WSU gets paid out more because of the buyout is going to be increased. So that's the big thing in my mind. We're going to have to wait to see those numbers. They usually get those back to me, 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll see, what the final numbers. I think that's going to be a big deal. How much is he getting paid? How much of an increase? How much is the buyout total? So I think, a lot of people probably should reserve judgment until we see those numbers. They did not release them at the time of the contract extension. So I put in a request, Freedom of Information Act. And so hopefully we'll get those, sometime soon, but in the past experience, it usually takes about a month to get those back. So maybe sometime in early September, we'll get those final numbers. We'll have another conversation about it. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're Kevin Saul, you believe in Paul Mills, it makes sense to me because all signs are pointing up.
100%. And you throw in the increase for the NCAA tournament expanding as well. Just throw that in there, and you should feel pretty darn good about Wichita State basketball year for 26-27. I know you wrote an article too about a particular player who didn't play last year, so we'll save that for next week. But I do have to ask though, although we've talked about this before, you have guys like Emmanuel Okorafor and Kenyon Giles put their names in the transfer portal. And back then, I think you and I are both like, I don't know what the big deal is. But you said, well, that they're being instructed to do so to really help themselves out. Little do we know that it's because of something that just became a thing, and that is those guys, Kenyon Giles, Karan Boyd, Emmanuel Okorafor, and a bunch of others, considering that this ruling took place in Colorado, you now have guys who have the ability to go and get themselves another year from the class of 2022. And if you weren't in the transfer portal, because they also threw in a little caveat saying if you weren't in the transfer portal before, then you can't transfer anywhere else. So it's a good thing those guys did that because they'll have the ability to look elsewhere and try to find a new home. But also, how crazy is it knowing that school is going to be starting up here in a couple of weeks? Just madness. I think I already know the answer of what's going to happen with Kenyon Giles and Emmanuel Corafor and Karan Boyd. Are they going to be able to go back to Wichita State? Odds are probably not. But your overall thoughts on Kenyon Giles and those players who get themselves another year for this upcoming season and an opportunity to play somewhere else and wrap up a college career and maybe get some more money on top of it as well.
Yeah, it is an interesting time in college sports right now. And it's not even clear yet if this will stick. Obviously it's trending in that direction that they will get an extra year, but there's still, a possibility that all this gets revoked. They're eligible right now. Will they come, will they still be at the start of the season? Obviously, the NCAA hates this ruling, does not want these guys flooding back into the market, especially after all the rosters have been set. It's August. It's school has almost started. People are out at roster spots. People are out at rev share money to hand out. So I will be curious, how many of these guys find landing spots because some of these coaches are going to have to maybe kick a guy to the curb. And from what I know, I'm not super, well informed with like how the school aspect works, but I'm pretty sure, once you start summer school, that scholarship is locked in. And, so I don't know what is really happening right now. It's a total mess. But yes, to your point, this is why Kenyon Giles and Karan Boyd and Emmanuel Corafor, that's why they entered the transfer portal, just for that slight chance that something like this would happen. And now they're not just stuck. Some guys who didn't enter the portal, their only chance is going back to their former team. And like I said, most people have their spots full. They don't have any money left. So their options are pretty much just you have to go pro. But, guys like KG and KB and EO, all these guys, now they have options. They can hit the portal, and we'll see if they find landing spots. But, like I said, it's just total chaos right now. I'll be curious to see how all this shakes out because, if you can find the money, I think Karan Boyd, you can fit him, plug and play him anywhere. Kenyon Giles, that's a pretty elite scoring talent to be available on the market this late. Mm-hmm. But it's like, do you really want to upset your team chemistry? The team, your team has been together for a couple months now. They all have roles established. You've given out, a rev share money based on what you think. And are you really willing to upend all of that just to add, some talent at the end of the summer? So I'm curious to see what happens. I would be very skeptical, like you said, if WSU adds any of those guys. I think they are set, but never say never. This is the one thing college sports has taught me the last couple of years. Never say never. I think just about anything might be possible.
I think you're exactly right. Just when you think you have things figured out, nope, there's another wrinkle that is thrown into the mix. So it's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy world, but we will see if there are any teams that benefit from this. Hopefully you do have the players who end up getting another year, get the opportunity to do that. But man, so many people that didn't enter the name of the transfer portal, and they are screwed because the caveat is if you weren't in the transfer portal before, you're not allowed to transfer now, which is just insane. And oh, by the way, class is about to start in a week or two, which all of this is just nutty. But welcome to college athletics in 2026. Taylor, appreciate the time as always. Although, we'll see if there's any more breaking news coming up next week. But have things finally calmed down after last time we talked, after the brawl and everything? I'm still sitting here just looking back at what transpired last week. And I still can't believe what went down last Monday.
Yeah, now it's, WSU basketball season. So they still have, like I said, 6 spots on their schedule. I think 5 now. I guess 5 after the USC game. So there's still, maybe one or two games out there that might, be interesting to talk about. They're wrapped up with summer practice. I think they'll be back in late August or mid-August here in a couple weeks when classes start back up. But yeah, it's a little bit of a break. But now it's, you turn your attention to Shocker basketball. WSU volleyball season's coming up, and then we got high school fall sports. So we'll have plenty to talk about. So yeah, no rest for me. I'm just going on to the next thing.
Yeah, on to the next one. All right, Taylor, appreciate you, man. Enjoy the week.
All right, have a good one.
Taylor Aldridge from the Wichita Eagle here on the Pulse on ESPN Wichita. Coming up next, college football. There is a preseason poll out done by the coaches. Where is K-State? Are the Wildcats on the list? We'll discuss next when we return on the Pulse.
The heartbeat of Wichita sports fans. The Pulse on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
Windy Rock Summer Concert Series presents Get Ready to Party with 24 Karat Magic, the #1 tribute to Bruno Mars, live at Rock and Brews Casino Saturday, August 29th. Experience the energy and hit music you know and love, including favorites like 24 Karat Magic, Uptown Funk, and more at this free outdoor concert event. Doors open at 7 p.m., show starts at 8:30. All ages welcome and guests 18 and up receive $10 free play. Only at Rock and Brews Casino Bremen, owned by the Caw Nation. I-35 exit 231. Eat, win, rock on.
Are you looking to elevate your space, sharpen your message, improve employee and customer experience? Then it's time to look at ImageNet Consulting. They believe complex AV systems and presentation technology shouldn't be a distraction. They provide audiovisual solutions, including LED walls, digital displays, content management software, and acoustic solutions. Working with ImageNet allows you to focus on effective communication and what truly matters to your business. Let them help you make AV seamless. Visit ImageNet.com to learn more. That's ImageNet.com.
Hi, I'm Ben Farha, owner of Farha Roofing. Kansas weather can change in an instant. Hail, wind, and severe storms can leave your home vulnerable when you least expect it. That's where Farha Roofing comes in. Our trusted team provides professional inspections, quality workmanship, and guidance through the insurance claims process. If you think your roof may have been damaged, don't wait. Protect your biggest investment with the company Kansas homeowners trust. Schedule your free inspection today with Farha Roofing. Farha Roofing. We rise above the rest.
Adopt a School is collecting school supplies now through August 31st. Help us support local teachers and classrooms. We are looking for backpacks, Clorox wipes, Kleenex, dry erase markers, glue sticks, binders, and more. Visit adoptaschool.com for a full list. Every donation, big or small, helps students start the school year with the tools they need to learn and succeed. Your donations make a difference for everyone in our community. Items can be dropped off at Rusty Eck Ford or Midwest Kia. Thank you for helping us make a positive impact this school year.
Well, college football is going to be here before you know it. We've spent a lot of time talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, and rightfully so, with training camp going on. But before you know it, college football is going to be taking place. And there's a little spot in town they need to go to when it comes to game day, either for college football or even for the Kansas City Chiefs, NFL in general, all things sports. The place I'm referring to is Twin Peaks. Out east, it's at 21st and Rock. Out west, it's Rich and Taft. By the way, we're going to be out at the Twin Peaks West location at Ridge and Taft coming up on Friday. Join Shane and myself as we'll be out there having some fun at Twin Peaks West. You have happy hour officially underway at the lodge. No one tops happy hour at Twin Peaks. That I can promise you. Much like no one can make a beer colder than Twin Peaks. I can promise you that as well, because Twin Peaks, 29-degree man-sized drafts, they slap. They're great. They're fantastic. They never disappoint. At least to me, they never disappoint. They never do. I think it's amazing. I also like everything else about their adventurous drink menu, second to none. I could drink all sorts of things, and all the drinks that they make, all of them are delicious. The food is always spot on, and I can't wait to have my spicy Thai chili wings coming up on Friday. No need to add the fries or anything because, well, I'm trying to slim down a little bit. But I can't wait for that coming up on Friday. Also can't wait to experience the atmosphere that is always special. Head on over to Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views. Coming up here in a little bit, I do have some Kansas State Fair tickets to hand out, so stay tuned. Be ready to text 316-666-2285. Earlier today, we got a glance at a top 25 preseason poll for college football. Where is Kansas State? Is Kansas getting a vote? Spoiler alert, no. If you're a Kansas fan wondering if that's going to be the case, sorry, not the case. Not going to happen there for the Kansas Jayhawks. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it ends up changing throughout the course of the year. I just have some questions, to say the least. I will say, though, for Kansas State, the Wildcats are, well, they're mentioned, but they're not in the top 25. I'll get to that here in just a little bit. Big Ten teams have won each of the past 3 college football playoff national championships. So no surprise that a Big Ten team is the number 1 team in the country in the AFCA coaches poll. Ohio State checks in at number 1. The Buckeyes were able to receive 38 first-place votes. They will be led by a pair of Heisman Trophy contenders, one of them being Jeremiah Smith. You have Julian Sayin as well, both pretty darn good. Another Big Ten team, Oregon, checks in at number 2. And then you have the SEC with Georgia and Texas. Notre Dame rounds out the top 5. So if you are a Fighting Irish fan, Notre Dame is a preseason top 5 selection, if you will, according to the AFCA. I'm sure we'll get the AP poll next week. I'm sure there'll be another coaches poll that'll be thrown out there, all sorts of stuff. Indiana, the Hoosiers, who ended up winning the entire thing last year. Well, Indiana checks in at number 6. The Hoosiers received 14 first-place votes. The Miami Hurricane behind them at number 7. Texas A&M 8, Oklahoma 9, and Mississippi 10. Where the heck is the Big 12 in this conversation? Checking in at number 11 is Bama, and the first Big 12 team to make an appearance. No surprise, it is Texas Tech. The Red Raiders checking in at number 12. LSU all the way at number 13. They were not ranked last season. They went 7-6, but LSU does have a guy by the name of Lane Kiffin, and apparently he's brought in a good amount of talent, and the Tigers are a top 15 team, according to the AFCA. USC at number 14. BYU, there's your second Big 12 team. The Cougs at number 15, with Coach Tataki leading the charge. Again, I'm not surprised that the top 2 teams mentioned here for the Big 12, Texas Tech and BYU. That makes sense, doesn't it? Makes a lot of sense to me. Michigan, 16, Penn State, 17, Tennessee, 18, Washington at number 19, the SMU Mustangs from the ACC at number 20, Utah, the next Big 12 team at 21, Iowa 22, Clemson 23, and there is a 4th Big 12 team in the top 25. And it's crazy to think that this team is in the top 25, but they did so well last year. And there are so many people talking about this team that, hey, this is a team you shouldn't sleep on. They're going to be really good, but Willie Fritz leading the charge, and that would be the Houston Cougars at number 24. Kansas, the Jayhawks, they are going to square off with the 25th best team, according to the AFCA, in week number 2 for this upcoming season, and that would be the Missouri Tigers. Eli Drinkowitz and the Tigers checking in at number 25. Others receiving votes: Louisville would technically be number 26. TCU getting a lot of love, which somewhat surprises me. I know it's Sonny Dykes. I know he's leading the charge, but I just don't know if I'm really buying TCU as being a top 25 team. Seems a little strange to me, considering, I don't know, their quarterback, Josh Hoover, one of the best ones for TCU, ends up leaving. So I find that interesting. Arizona is another Big 12 team that received votes. And I do believe that the Arizona Wildcats, there's a lot to like about what they have. They obviously bring back their quarterback in Noah Fafita, who's been there for 85 years. Anytime you have that type of caliber of a player come back, that's usually a good thing. They improved in a lot of areas. Defensively got better last year. They were able to be better offensively, ended up winning 9 games in 2025. So Arizona receiving votes shouldn't surprise a lot of people. Other Big 12 teams to receive votes, get a load of this. A team that went 1-11 last year receiving votes from the AFCA. And that team is Oklahoma State. The Cowboys. They went 1-11 last year. 22 votes they received. Oklahoma State. Can you believe that? Or maybe 22 points, however you want to indicate it. I think Eric Morris is going to work out for Oklahoma State. And this year, with him taking a good chunk of his players from North Texas with him up to Stillwater, that does matter a whole heck of a lot. When you take a look at Penn State, for instance, you see Coach Campbell just poach all the players that he had at Iowa State and bring them on over the Happy Valley. And that's pretty much the direction Eric Morris took now at Oklahoma State. I do think they're going to be a tougher out than probably what most people are going to give them credit for. But Oklahoma State, 22. I know I have a diehard Nebraska fan who listens all the time. Nebraska receiving 12, so good for the Huskers, I suppose. Arizona State with 8 points. And I'm sure you K-State fans are going, hold on, I think you say Kansas State's mentioned. They are. The Wildcats with 1 vote for top 25. 1 vote. Just 1. So in the Big 12, you have the usual suspects, Texas Tech, Utah. It's not Houston per se, but Houston certainly deserves to be a part of the conversation this year. BYU, duh. TCU, Arizona, Oklahoma State. Still can't get over that one. Arizona State, and the 9th Big 12 team to be mentioned for this list is Kansas State, with 1 lonely vote. A team that went 6-6 last year. And I look at that and just go back to what some of the publications have written about Kansas State. I don't believe a lot of those pundits are penalizing Kansas State for Avery Johnson being that quarterback. I believe a lot of those individuals who cover the sport, they have to see the obvious. And that is Avery Johnson is still a very capable player. You have 2 to 3 tailbacks highlighted by Joe Jackson. You have a wide receiver group that looks better on paper. You go to the defensive side, Wendell Gregory is a huge pickup. I read another stat on Kansas State's defensive line in terms of freshman guys in the Big 12 who generated enough pressure. And I think there was another guy who got mentioned. Therefore, Kansas State, not only did the Wildcats bring in Wendell Gregory, but they were also able to have another guy who was a freshman last year who did quite well in terms of pressures, according to just freshmen in the Big 12. So definitely nice to see that. No denying, though, that you look at Austin Romaine, who's a preseason All-Big 12 pick, now at Texas Tech. You have Tobi Osensami, who is over at Indiana. You lose Chidi Obiizor, also to the Indiana Hoosiers. A lot of questions in the back end of the defense with the secondary. Who knows what the offensive line is going to look like? But I do think that there are enough people who just look at Colin Klein and just wonder, what does a first-year head coach really do? A first-time head coach, for that matter, as well. What is he going to bring to the table? If you're Kansas State, you probably should be okay with that. Understanding flying under the radar is not necessarily the worst thing in the world because, well, back in the day, really felt like with Bill Snyder, you always did more with less. And in some ways, for Colin Klein, he could be in a similar position for this upcoming season for the K-State Wildcats. According to this logic, for the AFCA, the Wildcats will be the 9th best team in the Big 12, which doesn't seem all that great. But I truly do believe that this is a K-State team that is going to be overlooked by a lot of people. And it's largely because of there's a first-time head coach that's leading the charge. Don't necessarily think that you should put in a ton of stock in that. I do believe that it's part of the equation. But you saw what Colin Klein did when he was the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M, when he was the OC at Kansas State. And a lot of people know around these parts, they remember what Colin Klein was like when he was the quarterback of the K-State Wildcats. Really, Kansas State just flying under the radar. Now, I don't think around these parts, a lot of people are thinking that way, still high expectations, and hard not to get excited. You have a former player who's coming back to lead the charge, someone that's beloved by everyone. You've already seen the donations go up, and talent-wise, it looks pretty okay on paper. It's all got to come together. Not going to be an easy road per se for the Wildcats. But I do believe that they're flying under the radar, mainly because of there's a first-time head coach who's in that seat. But there's a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. If they can figure out the offensive line, if they can be a solid group there, that's where it's really all going to begin and end for Kansas State. In my opinion, the offensive line has to hit. Kansas not being mentioned shouldn't surprise anyone. Now, Lance Leipold spoke to media members earlier today, and we'll get to some of that audio coming up tomorrow on the show. Seems like he has enjoyed the quarterback battle thus far. He has already seen some improvement in that area, but I still believe there is a lot left to be figured out there for the Kansas Jayhawks. When I look at the top 25, who's too high, who's too low, I don't necessarily have a lot of issues with this list. It is impressive to see LSU jump up into the top 15 for the preseason poll, mainly because of Lane Kiffin. It's on the other side of the coin now where you have one in Colin Klein, who's a first-time head coach, and you go to Lane Kiffin, who, yes, did well for Ole Miss, but just because he's back in that role, I don't know if it's going to be a great deal right off the bat. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. You have Michigan being in the top 20. Utah should be in the top 25. Houston, I have no issues there. I really don't have too many disagreements with a lot of this, if I'm being honest. I wanted to be a little angrier about it, but I don't think there are really any issues with this. Ohio State probably should be number one. Oregon, Georgia, Texas, checks out to me. Indiana, you could also just say, well, Indiana is a little bit too low for a Hoosiers team that won a national championship. You could say that if you want. I'm sure there are a lot of Oklahoma fans that are probably a little nervous thinking, dang, a top 10 team for Brent Venables. It feels like this is a huge year for them down there in Norman. They won 10 games last year. So I would think that would allow people to get off his back a little bit, but I think there's still a lot of people that want things to be better. I mean, really, the only issue that would have is really LSU being all the way up to number 13, and maybe Texas Tech maybe should go down a few spots because of what they were going to have at quarterback and now what they currently have. Although, based on what we've read, well, Hammonds is going to be ready to rock and roll for Texas Tech week 1, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. But from a Big 12 standpoint, I did not expect TCU to be the first Big 12 team mentioned outside the top 25. That surprises me a little. Not surprised about Arizona. Oklahoma State, I think, is a little bit of a sleeper, but I don't know if I would really give them a bunch of votes. Arizona State checks out. Kansas State getting 1 vote. That might seem low for a lot of people around here, but hey, if you're a K-State fan, you should probably just go ahead and take everyone's going to doubt us. Use that as bulletin board material. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Jack, any takeaways from the top 25, the preseason poll here from the AFCA?
I don't know if there's anything that stands out too much. What we always know when it comes to college football is those rankings look a lot different by the end of the year. And really, across all college sports, the preseason polls never matter, right? We see teams that are preseason number 1 and they might finish unranked, or you see a team that nobody's talking about that all of a sudden catapults their way into the top 10. It's the beauty of college sports. And though it's been a changing landscape with NIL and transfer portal and this and that, what never changes is that it's really hard to predict who is going to be the top dog when it's all said and done. But really, I don't have too many gripes. There are some teams that are in that 15 to 25 range that stand out a little bit to me just because I don't know a lot about them. And that really is the way it is in college sports, is you're going to see a team with an entire new offense or an entire new defense or a new coach that might be on the sideline or a new coordinator, and we'll see how that works out. But a lot of this is based on what you did last year and how many players you brought back from that last year's team. I mean, I thought Oregon was the sure favorite last year, and they still were really, really good, but they got smacked by Indiana, not once, but twice. Is Indiana going to continue their dominance? I'm sure a lot of people are going to be picking that. I know a lot of people are high on Texas. Arch Manning gets another year. Oklahoma, too. That should be a fun Red River rivalry coming up in a couple months here. But as for the Big 12, KU and K-State, nobody should be that surprised that KU is not close to the top 25, mainly because of what they did last year and also the turnover at the quarterback position. They don't have Jalen Daniels back, and though he wasn't a top quarterback last year, it's the uncertainty of what you're going to do. And I would say that matters a lot for the AP top 25 rankings of who is your quarterback, right? Are they a competent D1 quarterback? Are they a true freshman, a 5-star, a guy that's coming off a really good year, but that was his only good year? For Kansas, we don't know what it's going to look like with Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall. For Kansas State, the uncertainty there is probably, what does Colin Klein look like as a head coach? We know that he's great as a coordinator, but is he going to be a great head coach? And with their schedule, I'd imagine that they will be in the top 25 for a chunk of this season. I also know for a lot of K-State fans, they don't want to settle for just ranked 22nd in the country. They really want to compete for a Big 12 title, and they believe that Colin Klein can be the guy to get that done.
Yeah, and that's where I'm just at with really how the national media really perceives Kansas State at this point. Really do lock in on the fact Colin Klein is a first-time head coach. I think there are a lot of people out there who are very much leaning in on that thought, more so than going what's really on paper with that roster for Kansas State. But I also have to understand, too, offensive line, will it be better? Secondary, will it be good enough for the Wildcats? And can Avery Johnson really deliver? Can he really have this dominant senior season that would allow him to go on to the next step and maybe become a player who could be in the NFL? 316-666-2285. That is the text line number. Speaking of the text line number, I have 4 tickets, GA tickets, for the Kansas State Fair that is coming up. If you want to go to the Kansas State Fair, I need you to text the word FAIR to 316-666-2285. Text the word FAIR to 316-666-2285. Kansas State Fair is coming up. You can save big on Tuesday and Thursday at the fair with $4 admission after 4 o'clock. That's Tuesday, September 15, and Thursday, September 17. It's a fun, affordable way to celebrate at the fair. And something else I also want to bring up, calling all Chiefs fans, you can wear your red and celebrate Kansas Lottery's Chiefs Red Friday on Friday, September 18. Show your Play On app at the gate and get in for only $5. If you're not a Play On app member, join for free at kslottery.com to get in on the deal. We're going to be out there on that Red Friday. Shane and myself will be out there doing a live show from the Kansas State Fair. Can't wait to share more details about that. But that Friday, September 18, if you want to hang out with us, interact with us, ask some questions, we might do some Q&A out there as well. Should be a blast at the Kansas State Fair. If you want to go to the Kansas State Fair, I have a family 4-pack of GA tickets for you. Text the word FAIR to 316-666-2285, 316-666-2285. Take 2 Tuesday to wrap things up when we return.
This is The Pulse on Wichita's new sports leader, ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. Wichita's home for the Dallas Cowboys. ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
3rd and goal from the 5. Dak from the gun. Drops back, flushed out. He's going to run left. And Dak Prescott waltzes in for the Cowboys touchdown.
Dallas Cowboys football can be heard right here. Go Cowboys.
Wichita's 100,000-watt powerhouse. ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.
Furnished by IntelliBrands. Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Get an Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact. Improve your flexibility and balance, strengthen and tone your legs.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better, and it makes me feel stronger too.
My circulation is moving. I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
It's so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. And for a limited time, get a free upgrade to our deluxe bundle with a faster motor, sport mat, and wireless remote. Call 800-555-1212. That's 800-555-1212. 800-555-1212 now. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
Hi, I'm Ben Farha, owner of Farha Roofing. Kansas weather can change in an instant. Hail, wind, and severe storms can leave your home vulnerable when you least expect it. That's where Farha Roofing comes in. Our trusted team provides professional inspections, quality workmanship, and guidance through the insurance claims process. If you think your roof may have been damaged, don't wait. Protect your biggest investment with the company Kansas Homeowners Trust. Schedule your free inspection today with Farha Roofing. Farha Roofing, we rise above the rest.
The U.S. Treasury quietly released its official financial report for 2025. It appears by its own numbers, the U.S. government seems insolvent. It's reported that the Treasury shows about $6 trillion in assets and over $47 trillion in liabilities. Add it all up, and it looks like the U.S. owes more than $130 trillion it doesn't have. If that were a family, they'd earn $52,000 a year, spend $73,000, and already be more than $1 million underwater. Any accountant would call that insolvent. So how does the government fix this? It can print money, which erodes your purchasing power. It can raise taxes, or it can cut benefits. And none of those can help to protect you. That's why many people who have something to lose move part of their savings into physical gold and silver, assets that can't be printed, defaulted on, or voted away. Call Monetary Gold at 877-NOW-GOLD for their complimentary gold and silver guide and a no-pressure conversation. That's 877-NOW-GOLD. Call Monetary Gold now at 877-NOW-GOLD. Do it before the next headline, not after. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Break out your lighters. Go side to side. Coming up next, Seren Petro with the program. Overtime tonight. Wind Surge embark on a new 6-game series as they are taking on Northwest Arkansas. That's right, the Royals affiliate. Catch a game tonight right here on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. All right, Jack, it is a Tuesday. We usually do a Take Two Tuesday. But first, Bert, end of the hour trivia question and answer, if you don't mind.
Yeah, the question was, who was the last NFL team to have 2 1,000-yard rushers in the same season? The correct answer, the Baltimore Ravens in 2019. Lamar Jackson being the first one, the second one being Mark Ingram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were people on the text line. Are we talking QB and running back? Yeah, of course, because I don't think you're going to have 2 rushers of 1,000 yards for tailbacks. You're not going to do that. Of course, we're talking about that. And if you think about the NFL, that should be your first guess, if we're being honest. Look at the NFL over the last 10 to 15 years and think to yourself, who would be in that conversation? And it should be Baltimore that jumps off the page right off the bat because, well, the Baltimore Ravens, they typically have good running backs, first and foremost, now with Derrick Henry being there. But the other aspect is, too, they have the best running quarterback in the NFL as of right now, and that's Lamar Jackson. So makes sense that the Baltimore Ravens would be that squad. We did get a couple people answered correctly, and I'll make sure to reach out to them so that way they can get themselves $20 to Tinker Barbecue. All right, Jack, Take Two Tuesday. Fire away.
All right, I'm going to give you 5 coaches here that are entering their first year as head coach of that school in college football. You need to give me 2 that you believe will have the most success. One of them being Matt Campbell at Penn State.
Okay.
The second one, James Franklin at Virginia Tech. The third one, Lane Kiffin at LSU. The fourth one, Eric Morris at Oklahoma State. And the fifth one here, Jimmy Rogers at Iowa State.
I'm going to rule out Jimmy Rogers right off the bat because you see what he has. Matt Campbell completely just absolutely raided that cupboard. Just took everyone. I visited with a buddy of mine who covers the Iowa State Cyclones down there at Big 12 Football Media Days. We met at the NSMA Sports Banquet. He was the Iowa Sportscaster of the Year, me, Kansas, so we had a chance to meet each other for the first time. Turns out he has a connection with Noah Sacco, who is at Cake TV now up in Omaha. And I just asked him, so realistically, what's going to happen at Iowa State? And he told me, I think if they get to 4 wins, it will be impressive. So he's not bullish on Iowa State. So let's take him out of the equation. Oh, that leaves 4 goodies, though. Eric Morris, I think, can really have a good season. But I don't know, and this is where it comes down to what you would define as a successful season. Is it making it to a bowl game? Is it being able to win 6 games or 5 games after having 1 win last year? So I'll probably eliminate Eric Morris just based on that. And then the fun part is, who the heck do I have for James Franklin, Matt Campbell, and then Lane Kiffin, right? Did I get that correct? Matt Campbell, James
Correct,
Franklin,
yeah.
and Lane Kiffin. I do think that James Franklin being let go from Penn State is really going to help out Virginia Tech. I really do believe that. Jeez Louise, though. I'm not exactly in love with any of them, though. Matt Campbell always is consistent. So let me get Matt Campbell. He's always consistent, whether you like him or not. Plus, he brought in a lot of his guys with him to Happy Valley. I would think that when you have all your guys that you're used to, that should help. And now it comes down to James Franklin and Lane Kiffin. Well, if Lane Kiffin has a true top 15 team, then it should go well for LSU. Virginia Tech, by the way, with James Franklin, they were receiving votes, in case you're curious, in the AFCA poll. Give me Lane Kiffin, I suppose. Although, once again, what does it all mean in terms of success? LSU fans might be demanding a natty in season number 1. Give me Kiffin, I suppose. We're done for the day. Thank you all for listening. For producer Jack Johnson, I'm Pat Strathman saying so long, Wichita. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.